Good morning. It's 5 a.m. and I'm Sam Rutherford with your top stories. More than 800 people lost their lives and another 2,500 are wounded, according to CBS News, as a 6.0 magnitude earthquake struck Afghanistan near the Kunar province late Sunday evening. The quake was only 5 miles deep, with shallower events causing more damage on the Earth's surface, with the death toll is expected to grow. An investigation is ongoing in Roane County, Tennessee, after a man was struck by a vehicle on I-40 West this past Thursday night. The Tennessee Highway Patrol is investigating why Michael Lee Bullard parked his car on the left-hand shoulder near the median before wandering into traffic and being struck by an SUV traveling 75 miles an hour in the right-hand lane. Bullard, 47, and of Harriman, Tennessee, was pronounced dead at the scene. Officers have ruled out any wrongdoing by the driver. And new developments today in the ongoing inquiry into the Epstein files. Here's ABC's Morgan Norwood.
New step today in the search for answers in the Jeffrey Epstein case. Today, members of a congressional committee, both Republicans and Democrats, are meeting with some of Epstein's sexual abuse victims. Those victims set to appear for a news conference tomorrow, pushing for the release of the Epstein files.
And the U.S. Military Academy at West Point is no stranger to heroic acts. And Saturday night, a cadet and Army football player hailing from North Carolina showed nothing less than heroic behavior a few miles off his Hudson Valley campus, rescuing a man from a burning car. Reporter DeJuan Hoggard of ABC affiliate WTVD in Raleigh, Larry's hometown, has his story.
Larry Pickett Jr. is now in his sophomore year at the U.S. Military Academy, West Point.
Everything happened so fast. It wasn't a lot of thinking, a lot of talking.
20-year-old Larry and his dad saving a man's life after a serious car crash in Highland Falls, New York.
We could just tell that he was in need of help.
His actions coming just a day after Army's upset loss to Tarleton State.
It really just comes back down to the will to serve.
Not all heroes wear capes. Some wear football jerseys and save lives.
And in local news, Hendersonville native Joseph Newgarden took the checkered flag at the Music City Grand Prix, marking his first win of the season. Newgarden told Fox 17, quote, "I'm just glad we got one without anything going wrong. It's rewarding for our team. It's great for our team. It's been a tough year, and it's good to get one here in at the end." Market numbers report brought to you by Beacon Capital Management online at beaconcm.com. And our pre-market report right now has the Dow down 182 points, the NASDAQ down 160 points, and the S&P futures down 34 points. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Sam Rutherford, WTN News. I've got a crash out in the rural hill area of Davidson County, on the right lane, and the entrance is blocked on I-24 past Bell Road. Other than that, looking clear on your way into town this morning. Traffic every 10 minutes, every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.506 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. And good morning to you. Sam Rutherford is in for Joan Jones today. Louie is in for Sam. And Joan will be back, I think, on Wednesday. But Sam, great job, and looking forward to you covering the news for the rest of the day. There's a lot to talk about. I cannot wait. I don't know about you, and I'd love to get your thoughts. What is Trump going to announce today? See, I wrapped up Red Eye Radio talking about this, but I didn't have a lot of time to expand upon my thoughts of Donald Trump and him making some sort of an announcement today at 1 o'clock our time. So Chad Benson is going to get all the fun of breaking whatever it is that Trump wants to say. But, you know, over the weekend, and perhaps you heard me talking about it just a few moments ago on Red Eye, where you had all of these crazed idiots, these Democrats, and they were saying that Donald Trump was dead. They were actually saying that Donald Trump was dead because they hadn't seen him for a few days. And so sure as anything, Trump comes out and he plays golf on Saturday. I think it's his granddaughter, I think? He played with her, and she posted a video or a photograph on Instagram. But now you've got all of these people on the left, and part of what they're doing is they are looking at his posts on social media, on Truth Social, and they're like looking at all the words, and they're saying, you know, his posts on Truth Social, they look more literate. They look smarter. Because, you know, Donald Trump is so stupid. Whoever's posting for Donald Trump, who is clearly dead, is a lot smarter than the former president was, right? That's the attitude that they've had over Labor Day weekend. And what a bunch of nut jobs. But that's what they've been doing. So now, you know, true to form, I love that Trump has decided, okay, you know what? Then here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make an Oval Office announcement. He probably just made something up to prove that he's fine. But this is the crazy thing. And then I'm going to move on, I promise. But the crazy thing about all of this, obviously, and I know I can hear you screaming at the radio. These are the same people that didn't have a damn thing to say about Joe Biden. Right? There, I said it for all of us. I saved that as my last point because it is so incredibly obvious. But anyway, so we'll see what the president has to say. And people are also dissecting photographs. I don't know if you've seen this, Sam. Have you seen it online?
Oh, my gosh,
where they're actually dissecting the president's photographs that were taken. I don't know where he was. He was at a golf club.
Yeah.
And they take a picture, and they're looking at Trump's eyes. And are they like closed? Are they half closed? Is he really alive? They swear that there's something wrong with the president. And I think this is all a coordinated attack. I think that's part of what this is that they are trying to go after Donald Trump the way the Republicans went after Biden. But the big difference is that Joe Biden clearly was having challenges. And Donald Trump clearly 3 hours and 17 minutes. He had that cabinet meeting that was televised. I mean, it was great. So I don't know what it is. I don't know if this is a sign of desperation or what, but I think part of what this is, needs some video and audio. I think part of this is that the Democrats are trying to distract from their own failures.
No federal troops in the city of Chicago. No militarized force in the city of Chicago.
This is Mayor Brandon Johnson out of Chicago. This cluster F continues, where Chicago is out there. And do you know how many? Hey, Louis, could you do me a favor? Could you Google for me, because I don't know if there's been an update overnight, how many people were killed in the city of Chicago over the weekend? Now, when I started at midnight, it was 7 people shot and killed in Chicago. 54 were injured by gunfire over Labor Day weekend. Yet, Brandon Johnson doesn't really seem concerned about any of that. He's just up there chanting.
We're going to defend our democracy in the city of Chicago. We're going to protect the humanity of every single person in the city of Chicago.
So he said that they're going to protect the humanity of every person in the city of Chicago. What about the 7 that were shot dead?
Says 54 people were shot.
54 people were shot. Do we know how many people were killed?
7.
7? Okay, so that hasn't updated. So I don't see that Brandon Johnson, protected those people.
One of them was a 17-year-old boy.
Really?
Of the 7 dead.
Okay, 17 years old. Although, can I be honest? I hate to say this, but you see the crimes that 13 and 14-year-olds are committing these days? Now, I don't know this 17-year-old. I don't know the circumstances of his death. I don't know if he was a gang member. I don't know if he was caught in the crossfire. I don't know. But, I mean, there are a lot of little kids doing abhorrent things. And again, I don't know the circumstances of this 17-year-old and whether or not he was somebody who, is a gang member or what. Because, oftentimes when you hear 7 people shot, 54 wounded, those gang members shooting back and forth, right?
So on the same night that I believe he passed away, there was another 17-year-old girl was hit by a stray bullet. I think it might just be the sheer volume of bullets flying in Chicago.
Oh, it's almost as bad as Memphis. I mean, there is. I'll see if I can find it. I don't know if I saved it, but there is another. There's another video out there in Memphis of more gunfire, and so was it you? Was it you that said they call Chicago Chirac?
Yes.
Okay.
Chirac.
So we need to come up with a name for Memphis. Because if Chicago gets to be Chirac, then I need people's help. What do we call Memphis? Like, let's think of a really violent city in the Middle East and join it with Memphis, and we'll see if we can come up with something in the spirit of Chirac. I think we should. Super text line is open. Let me know. 615-737-9986. But you got all these people, they're chanting no troops in Chicago over Labor Day weekend. So then you've got, again, Mayor Brandon Johnson out there in Chicago. And they have this huge press conference. I don't know if you saw this, but they had this huge press conference where they're going to defend Chicago from Donald Trump. And Johnson, very celebratory, signs an executive order to protect ourselves from the threats and the actions of this out-of-control administration, which is funny because there was no executive order to protect those shot and those killed over Labor Day weekend. Nothing. Now, what is crazy is that the vast majority of those killed in Chicago, as you know, are black. So how can this guy, Brandon Johnson, the mayor, purport to be an advocate for Black Lives Matter when the reality is he is taking executive actions to stop Donald Trump from saving lives? Because remember, everything Donald Trump does is bad to them. So I've got some audio from Chicago's mayor coming up next as he signs this executive order that does not save or protect Black lives or any lives, but he's sure proud of what he's doing. Straight ahead on Super Talk 99.7. It is 5:15. Time to check the roads on WTN.
And no update from earlier. It's just that crash out in the rural hill area on I-24 westbound past Bell Road, exit 59. Other than that, nothing happening on your way into work today. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
As far as your weather goes today, it's going to be cloudy, a couple of showers, a heavy thunderstorm possible as well. Watch for flooding, a high of only 79.
Nice.
Is that the high, really, 79?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Going to feel like 80 and a low of 61. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. By the way, most of the audio that you're hearing on the radio, you can see it if you watch us on YouTube, Facebook, X, 997WTN.com, and the rest of the places as well. And this is Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson, again, proudly signing an executive order as Trump is threatening to deploy the National Guard.
I'm signing an executive order today that will launch the Protecting Chicago initiative. This is a project that builds on the months of preparation that we have done that has led up to this very moment. This order affirms that the Chicago Police Department will not collaborate with military personnel on police patrols or civil immigration enforcement.
Boy, you're showing him. Way to go, Brandon.
We will not have our police officers who are working hard every single day to drive down crime deputized to do traffic stops and checkpoints for the president. We do not want to see tanks in our streets. We do not want to see families ripped apart. We do not want grandmothers thrown into the back of unmarked vans.
Yeah.
We don't want to see homeless Chicagoans harassed or disappeared by federal agents. And so this executive order makes it emphatically clear that this president is not going to come in and deputize our police department.
Yeah, so there you go. So for you folks watching, do you know, this is what I think about sometimes. So I'm watching the video that you're hearing on the radio or on, watching on YouTube or whatever. But there's a sign language interpreter guy that is to Brandon Johnson's left. I would have paid that guy $500 to just continuously sign, "Let's go, Brandon." I mean, nobody would know it except for people that know how to do sign language, but wouldn't that be funny? I think it would be. All of this carnage is happening, and President Trump over the weekend putting J.B. Pritzker on full blast. Now, this is from the New York Post. President Donald Trump slamming J.B. Pritzker as weak and pathetic on Saturday, warning that he'll deploy federal troops to Chicago if the Democratic governor of Illinois doesn't get the violence under control. Pritzker has accused Donald Trump of attempting to manufacture a crisis in Chicago. I'm going to ask this question. How many deaths would they consider a crisis? Because obviously 7 dead, including a 17-year-old, maybe a couple of 17-year-olds, apparently is not a crisis to J.B. Pritzker. So if Donald Trump is attempting to manufacture a crisis, well, then obviously they don't see that there's 54 people that have been gunned down in Chicago. They don't see that as a crisis. Holy cow. All right. Donald Trump's fiery Truth Social post addressing a previous weekend of carnage in Chicago, where shootings left 6 dead and more than 24 hurt between August 22nd and August 25th. Trump saying 6 people were killed, 24 people were shot in Chicago last weekend. And J.B. Pritzker, the weak and pathetic governor of Illinois, just said that he doesn't need help in preventing crime. The president wrapping up by saying J.B. Pritzker is crazy. He better straighten it out fast or we're coming. MAGA, President DJT. He didn't say thank you for your attention to this matter, which I personally like. The White House, which notes Chicago has led the nation in homicides 13 years in a row, has reportedly been planning for months to possibly deploy as many as 1,000 National Guard troops to the city as early as September to stamp out crime. Well, we are now at Tuesday, September 2nd. So let's see, and that is what I wonder. Is Donald Trump, is he going to announce that he is going to send the National Guard into Chicago? I don't know how you do that because you've got the governor and the mayor and, of course, all of the elected lunkheads out there in Illinois, all of the leftists out there. They don't want the National Guard in because they would rather see people in Chicago gunned down in a hail of gunfire than Donald Trump coming in and fixing the problem. And that's what's going on. They're selling out their own residents. They're selling out the, what did it say, Chicagoans? So that's what they're doing in Chicago. They're just selling out lives because of politics. So we'll have to see where all of this goes. Donald Trump making some sort of a big announcement today, 1 o'clock. We'll have it for you live right here on Super Talk, 99.7 WTN. It is 5:21 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk. The Super Text line is open at 615-737-9986, 615-737-WWTN. And Sam Rutherford has the news coming up at 5:30. Sam, what you got coming up?
Well, a man is being heralded as a hero for his actions in Hershey Park, Pennsylvania, and a national news company is in hot water for its handling of an interview with a Trump cabinet member. All that and more coming up at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
526. Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. All right, so Sam and Louie, I asked folks, okay, so what can we call Memphis? If Chicago is Chirac, I'm not going to get that right. Then what can we call Memphis, right? So apparently it's come down to two.
Oh.
Either Memphganistan or Memphistan. Both are good, Sam. Both are good, Louis. So which one do we do? Do we call it Memphistan or Memphganistan?
Well, I got one more to throw in the ring
stuck
there.
on Memphistan.
You're stuck on Memphistan?
Yeah.
All right, so Louis likes Memphistan. Okay, and what do you got, Sam?
I got Memphis is bad. It's like Memphis is bad, but Memphis is bad. You know, like Islamabad.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. It's hard to get out. So
Well,
I think
you know-
Memphisistan might win.
You know that I can barely speak my own name, so which is a great trait for a talk show host on the radio.
Thank God it's only 3 letters. I feel you.
So I don't know. Do we do the Daily Dan poll? Because do we call it Memphistan, Memphganistan, or I'm not going to be able to do it.
Memphis is bad.
Memphis is bad.
Memphis is bad.
All right. So Louis, work on that. Work on the spelling with Sam. He's smarter than me. All right. So just you guys figure it out. Anyway, there you go. Yep. So here we go. We're talking about Brandon Johnson. Let's go, Brandon. You know what it is? I feel sorry for people named Brandon.
I do too.
Like, I mean, it just because can we just be honest? Not all people named Brandon are dumb.
No.
Like that's obviously not the case. But I will say that every person named Brandon who is also the current mayor of Chicago is a dipshit. Is a dip.
See, you have trouble pronouncing things, but the finesse that took right there was remarkable.
On no sleep, by the way.
Yeah, marathon week.
On no sleep. Anyway, so we'll have to see. And by the way, if you find out, Sam, what Donald Trump is talking about, if there's any rumors as to what the president is going to be announcing today, I would very much appreciate a heads up. I'm going to keep looking for mine as well. I believe that the president just made up a reason to make an announcement just so that he could troll the Democrats.
I wonder, since he was playing golf with his granddaughter, I wonder if it's their scores. That's the whole reason for the announcement. Their scores from golfing together.
Did you hear what Trump is doing with the Wall of Fame?
No.
Oh, gosh. Okay. Some of you folks may have heard me do this a little bit earlier on Red Eye, but I'm going to do it here as well. Just very quickly, news with Sam Rutherford is right now on Super Talk 99.7.
Good morning. It's 5:30, and I'm Sam Rutherford with your top stories. They call him the Hershey Park hero, the man who rescued a lost little boy who was walking high above the crowd on the entertainment park's narrow monorail track. While horrified bystanders looked on, John Sampson jumped into action, climbing the roof of a nearby concession stand, hoping it could get him closer to the monorail and overcoming a fear of heights. He managed to get onto the rail and grab the kid. John Sampson describing what went through his mind.
This kid is walking on the monorail, and obviously panic kind of sits in a little bit. When you have that kind of dad instinct, it doesn't matter if it's your kid or not, it's a child. You want to make sure they're safe as possible.
And in national news, U.S. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem and her department are calling out CBS for editing her interview on Face the Nation. Secretary Noem said in a statement about her interview regarding alleged human trafficker Kilmar Abrego Garcia, quote, CBS shamefully edited the interview to whitewash the truth about this MS-13 gang member and the threat he poses to American public safety. The Department of Homeland Security has calculated that CBS cut nearly 4 minutes of her 16-minute interview, or 1/4, during its broadcast. DHS has Noem's full responses and the unedited footage for comparison on their website. In local news, the Rutherford County Jail is facing growing safety concerns, Fox 17 reports, as the facility is currently overpopulated. The jail was designed to hold 500 people, and with added bunks can now house 977. But as of August 25th, the population is held at 1,008. The state defines a full prison as 85% capacity, which would be 831 in Rutherford County's case. The sheriff has stated the overcrowding has contributed to inmate fights, and 11 deputies have been assaulted, and 55 of those fights were reported. Sheriff Fitzhugh says one of the main issues is the county currently holding 229 state inmates, which strains staff and resources. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Sam Rutherford, WTN News. And nothing much happening this morning on your way into work. Looks like they got that wreck out there in Rural Hill cleaned up. So far, moving smooth on the way into town. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
5:36 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Sam, I think we're going to go with Memphganistan. Memphganistan. Because that's the easiest for the host to say.
Well, it also, when you throw that southern twang on there, it sounds kind of cool.
Oh, I don't have a southern twang.
No, I'm saying, but the people of Memphis has a totally separate accent than when you come up 40 to Nashville.
Oh, do they?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. What's different about it? Can you describe it?
Not really. It's just different. That's the only way I can put it. It's just different.
Okay. Well, I don't know if I've ever known anyone from Memphis because few people survive from. I'm totally kidding. I'm sorry.
I've been and I've returned unscathed.
Okay.
Just got to know where not to go.
Like everywhere?
Yeah.
But so poor Louis can't figure out how to do a poll. I don't think it's Louis' fault though. I think there's somebody.
Are we not signed into the account? That'll do it.
I don't know. Whatever. It doesn't matter. Because you know what? The overwhelming number of people on the Supertext line, which I now have a laptop dedicated to the Supertext line, everybody said that they like Memphganistan. And as far as I go, it's the easiest one for me to say.
Well, and it's even funnier when you think about the $85 billion we left in Afghanistan worth of equipment.
Yeah, there is that too.
Is it funny? No, it's not.
No, it's not funny at all. All right, real quick. Supertext line is open, 615-737-9986. Have you seen Donald Trump's 11 life lessons for kids? Have you seen this? The White House, I think they put it out over the weekend. This is really good. I'm going to play the audio. It's long, but it's really good. It's Donald Trump, and what they've done is they've taken a bunch of speeches and they have, edited them together. And if you're watching on Super Talk TV, on YouTube and Facebook and X, you can see this, but it's certainly, you're not losing anything by just hearing the audio. But this is Donald Trump, 11 life lessons for kids.
Let me share some of the biggest lessons I've learned from a lifetime spent building dreams. First, if you think that you're too young to do something great, let me tell you that you are wrong. You're not too young. In America, with drive and ambition, young people can do anything. Second of all, and very importantly, you have to love what you do. I rarely see somebody that's successful that doesn't love what he or she does. Third thing is to think big. You're going to do something, you might as well think big, because it's just as hard to solve a small problem as a big problem, and it's just as much energy and everything else, except the result is going to be a smaller one. So love what you do, but think big. Fourth is work hard. Work hard. Fifth is don't lose your momentum. You just want to keep it going, and you have to know if you are losing it, you have to know when you're losing it, so maybe you stop and maybe it's time to stop. Number 6, if you want to change the world, you have to have the courage to be an outsider. In other words, you have to take certain risks and do things a little bit differently. Otherwise, if that weren't the case, everybody would be successful.
Do you know what I love about this? I don't know, Sam, if you're watching this on Super Talk TV, but the B-roll on this, because you're hearing the audio on radio, but the B-roll, the background images, are Donald Trump through the years. Mm-hmm. And I got to tell you, it's really touching, as a matter of fact, because, the Democrats, and I'll play the rest of it, but, the Democrats, they're all about this victim mentality, right? Donald Trump is telling kids with these 11 life lessons, he's telling kids how to be successful, and dare I say, how to be rich, which is something, of course, the Democrats, they don't like capitalism. They don't like rich people. They would rather be victims of everything, and they would rather, embrace communism and socialism and so forth. Donald Trump, these life lessons, as a guy who's 57 years old, make a lot of sense.
Be successful. Number 7 is to trust your instincts, common sense. You can go very far in life with common sense. 8th, everybody should believe in the American dream. It's real, it's there, and it's right before you. 9th, think of yourself as a winner. The power of positive thinking. In recent years, too many of our young people have really been taught to think of themselves as victims. But in America, we reject that idea that anyone is born a victim. Our heroes are the ones who take charge of their own destiny despite the odds. And next is to be an original. The old-time greats were people confidence to be a little different. God only created one of you, so don't try to be someone else. Finally, and most importantly, never, ever give up. I've learned that perseverance is everything, so whatever happens, no matter where you are in life, stay optimistic and just keep pushing forward. Never let anyone tell you that something is impossible. Ever, ever, ever. In America, the impossible is what we all do best.
I mean, I love that. I'm gonna tweet that out. As a matter of fact.
You know what I love about it the most?
What's that?
Is that most of the, I mean, obviously it's cut together and they did a really good job putting it together, but they're all long run-on sentences that he spoke at one time in one setting, not cut from over the years trying to make him sound and look good. It's just what he can do. The man is magical behind the microphone, much like yourself, Dan.
Oh, kissing ass will get you everywhere. I do. I love this too. And I went ahead and if you follow me on X at Dan Manders Show, you will see it. Because I do like, Sam, how they show him over the years. And they show him working hard. They show him working the phones. And those life lessons, I mean, let's be honest. Those are really good life lessons. Each and every one of those things that Donald Trump talked about are things that I would tell, my own kids. And conservatives would no doubt embrace. So if you want to see it, check it out on my page at Dan Manders Show. Did you see the Sanjay, I should say Sebastian Gorka? Did you see this interview, Sebastian Gorka, with CNN? This was actually a really cool, and it's another long one, but I think it's really good. You've got Sebastian Gorka, and he's on CNN, and they start going back and forth on mass shootings. And the media likes to play around with mass shootings. They like to include suicides in mass shootings. They like to play with the data because that's what they do. They play with the data. They did the same thing with COVID. You know that. Breonna Keeler was trying to interview Sebastian Gorka about mass shootings. And, of course, we all know what happened in Minnesota with the I like how they say it here, the non-trans man. And he just, I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't know why they keep asking these folks on because they get absolutely wrecked. And enjoy this. This is CNN's Breonna Keeler and Sebastian Gorka. And they, as in CNN, they're trying to continue on with this narrative of, it's the gun, stupid. It's not the person behind, the trigger. And Gorka is trying to point out, okay, let's look at the actual facts, not what you, as in CNN, are trying to portray as part of your narrative. Listen to this.
Okay, so let me ask you about this. 96% of attackers when you're looking at the U.S. Secret Service National Threat Assessment Center, looking at 172 mass attacks in the U.S. between 2016 and 2020, 96% were non-trans men. So I know you're focusing on this shooter being trans. The shooter was trans, and that is certainly of note. But are you missing the bigger picture here when you zero in on that instead of more broadly these school shooters as an epidemic, and you perhaps miss the through line that connects them all?
Yeah, of course, you know what she's talking about, right? She's talking about the gun. Listen to how Sebastian Gorka just absolutely destroys her.
Well, no, because your facts obfuscate two things. You are using data based upon the predominant gun violence, which is gang-on-gang violence with zero ideological content. If you remove all of that, the gang violence on the streets of Chicago, LA, Detroit,
Afghanistan,
then you come down to a much smaller data set. So it's like those who say, gun violence in America causes so many deaths, and then fail to note that the majority of the stats they are using refer to also suicides by gun, which of course is not what we are talking about here today. So let's concentrate on mass shootings at schools, specifically Christian or Catholic schools. Then the data set is wholly different. So don't conflate different data sets just to make a political point. There was an ideological content to this attack. That's what terrorism is. It's not because somebody didn't get the drug deal they wanted. It is an ideological message, whether it was anti-Israel, as in this case, whether it targeted President Trump in its rhetoric, as we saw on one of the magazines written by the perpetrator on that YouTube video, or whether we saw the fact that it was anti-Christian and targeting children. That has nothing to do with gang violence. Let's not mix the two things up.
I mean, I got to tell you, that is how you tell somebody to blank off, but sounding very eloquent about it, which Sebastian Gorka did. And the reality is that we had, I mean, I don't want to regurgitate last week's topic, but, the reality is that we have seen problems in the trans community with some of these folks who believe, men pretending they're women or, women pretending to be a man. And they go into these Christian or Catholic schools and they start, shooting the place up. We've seen that. That has happened. And then when you look at the actual number of trans people in America, then that number becomes even more inflated. So, yeah, Gorka does have a point. And listen, for me, he has an outstanding point when he says, okay, let's start honing in on some of these numbers. Because when you look at the gang violence that happens on the streets of all of those places that he's talking about, it is gang violence. Let's look at the targeted shooting. Let's look at what happened in Minneapolis over the last week, or what happened here in Nashville a couple of years ago. Those were targeted attacks. And they still, by the way, the FBI, they still won't give us the full manifesto of the Nashville trans shooter. They won't. What are they trying to hide? I don't know. But they may be trying to hide something. It's been, how long has it been now? It's been at least, about a year and a half maybe? Since the Covenant shooting? I don't have it off the top of my head. Louis, can you Google, what was the date of the Covenant shooting? I'm trying to remember when it was. But now, I will say this, to Minnesota's credit, we found out more about the Minnesota shooter in the, hours following that horrific tragedy and that horrific shooting than we, ever really found out official releases from people, from the authorities here in Nashville or the state of Tennessee. I mean, we had to... The way that we found out about the Nashville shooter was by leaked documents. Remember that. They tried to keep all of this under wraps. And then somebody leaked the pages to Brian Wilson and also to Michael Patrick Leahy over at the Tennessee Star. And that's how we found out about the Nashville shooter. What was the date of that?
The Covenant shooting happened on March 27th of 2023.
Okay. March. All right. So, yeah. About a year and a half ago, maybe? Yeah, about a year and a half.
2 years.
2 years?
Coming up on 3, if you think about it.
See, that's what happens, Sam, when I try to do math on the radio. By the way, did you see that Rosie O'Donnell had to apologize? Did you see that story?
To a box of Oreos?
No. Rosie O'Donnell apologized to MAGA. So what she did was Rosie O'Donnell actually went, well, I don't have time to do it right here. Coming up before the news, I'm going to try to do this before the news at the top of the hour, or I'll do it right after the news at the top. But Rosie O'Donnell is having to apologize to MAGA Details straight ahead. It is Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Super text line is open, 615-737-9986. Sam Rutherford is in the WTN newsroom. And by the way, Joan is back on, is it Wednesday, Sam?
I believe so.
Joan is back on Wednesday. No, I didn't run off Joan Jones. Stop it. No, her daughter was getting married, and she's off to Maryland to do all of that. So, and I talked to Joan over the weekend. The wedding went great, and she can't wait to come back and start doing news again on Wednesday. Sam, what's coming up at 6?
Well, Dan, at 6, a South American president is accusing Donald Trump of scheming a regime change. And, of course, Chicago's Brandon Johnson lashes out at the federal government. All of that and more coming up at 6 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Listen.
.56 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to your friends. Louis, need some video if we could. This is Rosie O'Donnell. and she is apologizing to MAGA. Listen to this.
Hi, everybody. It's Rosie O'Donnell, star of the Flintstones. Listen, I have a cold sore. I know. Happens.
This is a video, if you're watching on the video. The cold sore, she's got these really, I don't know, awkward close-ups. Like it's really close. And the cold sore is like a searchlight coming off of her upper lip. Beep, beep, beep. And I don't know who taught Rosie how to do these kinds of videos, but it's way too close. And it's hard to get over the distraction of the cold sore. But this is what she apologized. This is what her apology sounded like.
Run down, you know. Anyway, I know a lot of you were very upset about the video I made before I went away for a few days. I didn't go online and haven't seen them till today. But you are right. I did not do my due diligence before I made that emotional statement. And I said things about the shooter that were incorrect. I assumed, like most shooters, they followed a standard MO and had standard, feelings of NRA-loving kind of gun people. Anyway,
wow.
The truth is, I messed up. And when you mess up, you fess up. I'm sorry. This is my apology video, and I hope it's enough.
So there you go. That's Rosie O'Donnell. And some people are saying that wasn't actually an apology. I mean, she did say, I'm sorry. But then it made me really wonder, what in the world did Rosie O'Donnell say that she was apologizing for? I mean, I heard what she just said, but I wanted to go back and listen to the original video to hear what she said on the day of the shooting. This is what she said. Listen to this.
And so about the Minnesota shooting, and it brought me right back to Columbine in 1999 when I just could not get it through my head that students in America were shooting each other in schools. And this was a church inside a Catholic school. And what do you know, it was a white guy, Republican.
Wow.
MAGA person.
Okay.
What do you know?
What? Clearly more than you. I mean, I don't know, where did she get that? MAGA person, Republican. You know, obviously she's blaming this on Republicans, which is obviously what Rosie O'Donnell does.
White supremacist.
White supremacist.
Nothing has happened since Columbine.
So that is Rosie O'Donnell. And okay, she apologized. But the assumptions that she made about the shooter from Minneapolis, when it turns out he was exactly the opposite of everything that she said there. This is the problem with people that are infused with TDS, is they go on emotion. And they lose all credibility, including Rosie O'Donnell. It is 6 o'clock on WTN.
Good morning. It's 6 a.m. and I'm Sam Rutherford with your top stories. Chicago's Mayor Brandon Johnson, defiant, saying no to an ICE surge and the possibility of the National Guard pushing into the city. ABC's Morgan Norwood with more.
No troops in Chicago!
In Chicago, demonstrators condemning Trump's threat to launch an immigration crackdown in the Windy City as soon as this week.
We're going to defend our democracy in the city of Chicago. We're going to protect the humanity of every single person in the city of Chicago.
The mayor threatening legal action and signing an order barring Chicago police from helping federal authorities with immigration enforcement.
This comes after Chicago experienced 7 fatalities and 54 gunshot victims over the Labor Day weekend. In international news, Nicolas Maduro said Venezuela faces the biggest threat in 100 years as Trump deploys naval forces, Fox News' Luis Cassiano reports. The Venezuelan president, whose third term was met with protests by Venezuelans, is accusing the United States of wanting a regime change after a U.S. naval buildup in the Caribbean. President Trump initiated the deployment as part of a widespread effort to mitigate drug cartel activity. The president's office has accused Maduro of engaging in drug trafficking and taking it as far as offering a $50 million reward for information leading to his arrest and conviction. In local news, Tennessee is set to study any possible drug links to mass shootings under a new law, Tori Gessner of WKRN reports. The law, which was passed in April, requires mass shooters to be tested for psychotropic and gender-altering drugs by medical examiners to see if there is a connection between the two. The University of Tennessee's Health Science Center will examine any possible interactions between those drugs or cross-sex hormones and their reaction to other substances in the body system. The Market Numbers Report brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com.
From ABC News, Wall Street now. Stock futures pointing to a lower open as traders get back to work after the Labor Day holiday. Gold has never been as valuable as it is this morning. Prices for gold pushing past $3,500 an ounce to a new record high. Worries about slower economy and the prospect of interest rate cuts pushing interest in precious metals higher. Fresh concerns about prescription drugs, with President Trump talking about tariffs as high as 200% on pharmaceuticals made overseas. Experts now say those tariffs could force drug prices higher. Swiss food conglomerate Nestle has fired its CEO after his romantic relationship with a subordinate was uncovered. And the tourism industry across America bracing for what may be a long slowdown in foreign travelers. Several studies show international travel to the U.S. dropping since President Trump took office. The World Travel and Tourism Council says it appears the U.S. will be the only country out of 184 it studied where foreign visitor spending will drop this year. Sherry Preston, ABC News.
And the Dow Jones right now is down 275 before the opening bell. The NASDAQ is down 215 and the S&P is down 48. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Sam Rutherford, WTN News. And we have got some crashes to report to you this morning. Over in the Metro Center area, there's a crash off on the off-ramp on the left lane being blocked on I-65 northbound at the Rosa Parks Boulevard exit. Also got two crashes out in Antioch. One, it's got the right shoulder block out on I-24 westbound past Hickory Hollow exit 60, and the other coming in on the other side of that left-hand lane. And then out in Laverne, we have got an accident with the right shoulder block on I-24 westbound on Old Hickory Boulevard before the south at exit 62. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.607 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you, friends. Hope you are doing well. Tuesday feels like a Monday. A lot of people, I'm not going to replay the Rosie O'Donnell bit, but I did play Rosie O'Donnell's apology to MAGA at the end of the last hour. A lot of people asking, it's a fair and valid point. Rosie, you moved to Ireland to get away from all this stuff. Why does she keep talking? I mean, listen, Ireland is a free country too, but it's like, man, like if you're not happy and you moved away from America, then just stop paying attention. Have fun in Ireland. Go drink. Go eat potatoes, whatever they do in Ireland. But just, God's sakes, leave us alone. Anyway, so that is part of what we covered in the last hour. Donald Trump-related news. Oh, and by the way, I'm trying to set up an interview real quickly with Matthew Hurt, who I'm hoping he can join us at 6:35. So, Louis, at 6:35, Matthew Hurt is going to be joining us. So you want to get his photo ready for the stream. Watch us on YouTube and Facebook and X, 997WTN.com, Rumble as well. You can watch the radio show. You can listen to it on the radio, of course, and on all the streaming apps as well. And we've got a lot going on this morning. Appreciate you listening to Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So there was a bit of a conspiracy theory, or whatever you want to call it. We're going to talk to Matthew about this over the 6:35. But over the weekend, liberals, they said that Donald Trump died over the weekend, which was so bizarre. Sam, were you keeping up with all of this?
I was.
Over the weekend?
Yes.
So there was never any kind of proof that Donald Trump had died. I mean, where were they getting all of this from? I mean, he had just simply not been on camera for what, 4 or 5 days, whatever it was, since
3 days.
3 days.
And they panicked. So I think it's part of the TDS.
I don't think, by the way, I don't think panic is the right word. I think that they were engaged in wishful thinking.
Well, so like the allegations on social media that he's a body double. That's what we're seeing now. Like they've been zooming in on pictures and trying to over-interpret, as I would call it, little minute differences in Trump's appearance from certain angles and certain lighting and certain times of the day.
Photographs where they're looking at his smile and the formation of his eyes,
and the brow line,
and around the neck, the whole
and
thing.
Everything. And I think it's because they hate him, but if he's not out there, then what are they supposed to get angry at? Like that's kind of the mentality. They need something to obsess over, and when that thing has been removed, well, now they're going to freak out and start making wild accusations.
The problem is if Donald, I mean, obviously he's not dead, but if he was dead, okay, now what are you going to hate on? Now we're going to focus on your performance, Democrats. You know what I mean? So if they don't have Donald Trump to hate over or hate on, well, then they have nothing that binds them together, because as we covered for you last week at the DNC, where they couldn't even, the Democrats, the only thing they could agree on was their hatred of Donald Trump. So if he's gone, which he's not, but if he's gone, well, then what do the Democrats cling to? Well, they can't agree really on anything. They certainly can't agree over Hamas and Israel and who they support in that conflict. Obviously, a lot of conservatives would support Israel. The Democrats, by and large, they support Hamas. I mean, there was, and by the way, the other thing that they're doing, Sam, I don't know if you saw this, but they're looking at Trump's posts over the weekend on True Social, and they're looking at the vernacular that he used to, make these big, long Trump-like posts on True Social, and they're saying he's never used that word before, whatever that word is. He's never sounded this literate before, because that's one of the things that they said was his posts were better written than they usually are. Therefore, it can't be Donald Trump that is posting to his own Truth Social. So that's also part of the conversation. For the life of me, as time continues to go on here in Trump's second administration, I do find it funny that the Democrats are just so crazed with all of this. And so one of the things as we continue to talk about all of this is the fact that the Democrats are still having a hard time figuring out who they do support in the battle between Gaza and Israel. And again, not to belabor the point, but most conservatives know who we do support. We do support Israel. There's a lot of Republicans or conservatives, whatever, that don't support Israel. And I fully understand that. I actually said during the podcast that Chris and I did the other day that I can make the argument both ways. I can effectively make the argument that if we are truly America first, then we shouldn't be helping to protect Israel. I don't believe that, but I can make the argument. But I do believe that we should protect Israel. But Rashida Tlaib, did you hear this? Need some video. Louis. And so Rashida Tlaib making news this morning, a fiery speech over the weekend. She was speaking at an event where America was called an evil country. I want you to listen to this, because this is Rashida Tlaib at her whack jobbiest.
They thought they could kill us, rape us, imprison us, violently uproot us from our olive tree farms, starve our children to death, and we would disappear. Well, guess what? Now we're in Congress, and we're every corner of the United States. Y'all, they just don't get it. They just don't get it. They will never truly comprehend, Ya Jama'ah, even after 7 decades, that we aren't going anywhere. We are just getting started. I want to say to all of them, every genocide enabler, look at this rooms, motherfuckers. We ain't going anywhere.
You ever notice that for these Democrats to get a really loud applause, they have to drop down an MFer? That's what she did. And by the way, obviously, I'll say it for all of us, obviously, she conveniently forgot that Hamas slaughtered 1,200 innocent Israelis. Completely forgetting to mention that. And so the more that you listen to the absurdity of, Rashida Tlaib's arguments and some of these people that support Hamas, they really, just like Rosie O'Donnell, they just have no credibility because in their minds, Hamas can do no wrong and Israel can do no right. And there's no possible way in the mind of a Rashida Tlaib, there's absolutely no way that Hamas could be in the wrong and Israel could be victims. Because in the mind of someone like Rashida Tlaib, Israel deserved it. And that, to me, is horrifying. To me, you can go back and you can, when it comes to October 7th, when Hamas went into Israel, killed those 1,200 plus, Hamas killed those 1,200 plus Israelis, to me, it was sort of like a new beginning of this conflict between Israel and Hamas, in Israel and Palestine. Because for me, again, you read about this, and they had some relative peace going into that. And then Israel caught with their pants down, obviously. And Hamas came in after partnering with Iran and their Revolutionary Guard and did what they did. And Israel now is doing what it has to do. And you may have heard over the weekend, there's a group that is accusing Israel of legal genocide. Now, we're going to talk about that coming up. It is 6:15. Time to check the roads on WTN.
Laverne, 24 westbound before Old Hickory Boulevard South. Accident moved to the right shoulder. Antioch, there's an accident. 24 westbound under Hickory Hollow Parkway on the right. An accident in the left lane. I'm Christy O'Brien.
As far as your weather today, cloudy, a couple of showers, a heavy thunderstorm maybe as well. Watch for flooding. High today of 79. Feels like 80 degrees and low of 61. Appreciate you listening to Nashville's Morning News. So there is this group. Maybe you heard about it. It was all over the socials, because there's so many people that are Israel haters, right? So now there is a group that is accusing Israel. These are like genocide scholars, I guess. And they are now saying that Israel's actions in Gaza against Hamas and the killing of these Palestinians meets the definition, the legal definition of genocide. Well, here's my 2 cents on that, is that Israel is simply defending itself against the next attack. And Israel, as you can imagine, they are doing what Israel would do, and anyone would, is they're denying that they are taking part in any kind of a genocide. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to replay for you what Marco Rubio said, I think about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago, I think it was. And I've played this for you once already, and I played it over the Red Eye Radio network. But I think that Marco Rubio, he is spot on when he says, as he was verbally accosted by some, Israel hater, Hamas supporter in the airport, and the Secretary of State says, you know what, Hamas deserves everything that they're getting. Remember this?
Senator Rubio, will you call for a ceasefire?
No, I will not.
Gaza?
On the contrary.
Rubio,
are you filming it?
Wait,
So I want you guys to get this. I want them to destroy every element of Hamas they can get their hands on. These people are vicious animals who did horrifying crimes. And I hope you guys post that.
And what about the civilians that are being killed every day?
Hamas should stop hiding behind civilians, putting civilians in the way. Hamas knew that this was going to lead to this. So Hamas should stop building their military installations underneath hospitals.
So you don't care that 15,000 have died? You don't care about the babies that are being killed every day?
I think it's horrifying. I think it's terrible, and I think Hamas is 100% to blame. That's what I think. Make sure you post that, please.
I love that. Make sure you post that. And he's right. I mean, we've talked about all of this, friends. We've talked about how Hamas will bury their weaponry in the tunnels underneath residential buildings, under schools, under hospitals. That's where they have the hostages as well. I mean, I could go on and on. You know all of this by now.
It's not just their strategies. It's also that they quite literally have said in open forums and discussion amongst themselves that they welcome death for them and their constituents.
It's a death cult.
They don't care.
They don't care. That's right. And also, let's not forget that on October 8th, you also had the people of Gaza celebrating the 1,200 plus Jews that were killed in Israel. And let's also not forget that on September 12th of 2001, they were also celebrating in Gaza the deaths of 3,000 plus Americans, again, on September 11th. So I'm sorry, folks. I don't feel sorry for the people of Gaza. I don't. And for Marco Rubio and for, Benjamin Netanyahu, and I know that there's a lot of people out there that don't like Benjamin Netanyahu, and that's fine. But if you're concerned with America first, here's my argument to that. If you're America first, then how could you be for supporting Israel and helping Israel? Well, here's why. Because we get intel from Israel. And we have a valuable relationship with Israel that does benefit America. So for me, the more that we hear from Hamas, the more that we see of Hamas, the more that we engage with Hamas and the people of Gaza, the more I believe that Israel is in the right in doing what they're doing. And Hamas, you know what? They're the ones that are continuing to hold hostages. Hamas are the ones who, and we talked about this last week, who put out that video and that photograph of that seriously malnutritioned hostage as they were making him dig his own grave. Remember that whole thing? So before you start feeling sorry for the people of Gaza and Hamas and all that, think about what Hamas is guilty of. And think about the people that stand by Hamas in Gaza and celebrate the deaths of Americans and celebrate the deaths of Israelis, because that is what they do. It is 6:22, and Sam has the news coming up at 6:30. Sam, what you got?
Well, was the Minnesota shooter inspired by Nashville's? And Congress is back in session, but it's not going to be a quiet start. All of that and more coming up at 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Dan Mandis here, and I got to tell you, I want to talk to you about something truly life-changing, and that's vision correction surgery at Vision for Life. Now, I've had it. It is incredible, and it did change my life. It did impact my life in a great way. Now, like many of you, I thought all vision surgeries were the same. I believed that everything was just LASIK, but after doing my research, I learned that Vision for Life offers a variety of advanced procedures tailored to each patient's unique needs. Now, Dr. Horn doesn't just restore your vision, he restores your confidence and your freedom, that freedom from glasses and contacts and those pesky struggles like driving at night or reading small print. Now, I have taken that life-changing step because Vision for Life made the process simple and clear, answering all my concerns and, yes, matching me with a perfect procedure, and in my case, that was lens replacement surgery. Now, if you've been hesitating, you got to trust me. This isn't just about seeing better. It is about living better. I am. Thousands of other people are as well after they get that surgery from Vision for Life. So call them and schedule your free consultation, 615-436-2020, 615-436-2020. Visit them online, visionforlife.com. 626, Nashville's Morning News on WTN. Dan Mandis here with a question for you. If your roof was destroyed in a storm, how much of that replacement cost would your insurance company cover? Now, if you don't know, you really do need to ask, because some insurance companies, they refuse to pay full replacement cost. They're going to deduct money for an older roof, and this means that the insurance company is going to depreciate how much they pay for your roof claim. If you've got an older roof, they're going to pay you less, and that could leave you on the hook for thousands of dollars. My friends at King & Associates Insurance, they will pay full replacement costs. So whether you have to replace a 10-year-old roof or a 2-year-old roof, they will pay for it to be replaced, period. It is that kind of focus on customer service that makes King & Associates Insurance one of the best insurance companies around. As always, tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out. That phone number is 615-329-8121, 615-329-8121. Get that royal review at tkinginsurance.com. .629, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I got to tell you, for a first day back from a 3-day weekend, I'm very happy to see that the Super Text line is very active this morning. Thank you. 7422 says a deep study of world theology will tell you that a Muslim that dies in holy war goes straight to their heaven. Well, we know that. Why? He says that is why Islam is incompatible with the West. The more orthodox Muslim is stuck in the 8th century, says 7422. I mean, look at what is going on in the UK. Look at what is going on in Europe. Look at what is going on. They've got all of these Muslim men that have come into the UK. We could talk about the grooming gangs. We could talk about the absolute, and 7422 is right, the absolute incompatibility of the attitude of some of these, frankly, the men that have come into Europe and into the UK, and what is going on there, and how they are attacking people in Europe. The Muslim men are attacking the European men and the women, by the way, and all over X, you will see what is happening in Europe. It is horrifying. And as they say, what happens in Europe, America is about 10 years behind. So we'll continue that conversation as the morning continues to unfold. It is 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. It's 6:30, and I'm Sam Rutherford with your top stories. Members of Congress are back in D.C. today and facing fresh protests. Here's ABC's Morgan Norwood.
Protesters taking to the streets on Labor Day, from Auburn, Maine to Newport, Tennessee, St. Joseph, Michigan to Ventura, California, railing against President Trump and other billionaires who they claim are taking power away from the working class.
Hey, hey! Ho, ho! ICE agents have got to go!
In the nation's capital, protesters angry over Trump's takeover of law enforcement in D.C., announcing a week of demonstrations on Capitol Hill this week as lawmakers return from summer recess.
In some local news, WSMV4's Jeremy Finley reports that the shooter responsible for the deadly attack at a Minnesota Catholic school wrote about his admiration for previous school shooters, including Nashville Covenant School shooter Audrey Hale. Westman identified Hale as Aiden in his notes, Hale's masculine identity, and for unknown reasons, parts of the manifesto writings are in Russian. The FBI is still investigating Westman's writings. And in Texas, Houston police say an 11-year-old boy was playing ding-dong ditch with friends when they rang the doorbell of a house shortly before midnight Saturday. Police say a witness saw a man run out with a handgun, firing 2 or 3 shots, hitting the boy in the back. The boy is pronounced dead at the hospital on Sunday. Police have detained a middle-aged man. He has not yet been charged. Houston Police Sergeant Michael Cass.
I think they were able to run for about a block before he lost consciousness and dropped in the street. I believe he lives a block away.
That's the latest news. Traffic and weather are up next. I'm Sam Rutherford, WTN News. All right, got several crashes. If you're coming into town this morning, I still have that crash out in Metro Center of I-65, the northbound ramp to Rosa Parks Boulevard. Another crash reported in Davidson County at Old Hickory Boulevard at Cedarmont Drive. 2 crashes out in Antioch. The primary crash being on the right, blocking the right shoulder on I-24 westbound at the Hickory Hollow Parkway exit, and then a secondary crash in the HOV lane on the same side of the road. Out in Laverne, got an accident blocking the right shoulder on I-24 westbound before Old Hickory Boulevard south at exit 62. And in Murfreesboro now, a crash reported with the left lane block on I-24 westbound past Joe B. Jackson Parkway, exit 84. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.637 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Welcome on into a Tuesday. Feels like a Monday. And Matthew Hurt, our grassroots political analyst, is joining us. Matthew, always great to have you on. So did you buy any of the Donald Trump is dead thing that was going on over the weekend?
You know, I was reading an article this morning in Psychology Today about Donald Trump death rumors, and it's almost like a left-wing mass psychosis. They want it to be true. So people like Rosie O'Donnell, this thing was tweeted and shared on TikTok hundreds of thousands of times, and it confirms what they hope to be true. So they promulgate it, and of course Donald Trump, in true Donald Trump style, took to Truth Social and said, "Never felt better in my life." Of course, there was video over the weekend of him returning to the White House, quickly dispelling any, well, I would say quickly dispelling, but they still want it to be true. But it dispelled any myth or conspiracy that Donald Trump is dead.
He went golfing. He went golfing on Saturday, and they still, perpetuated this notion that, number one, Donald Trump was dead. Number two, I guess there are some people out there that are actually saying that Trump is, like a body double of Donald Trump. I mean, they're not helping themselves, Matthew. They're not helping themselves at all.
Well, about 100 of my closest friends, every time President Trump goes out to his golf course in Loudoun County, it's about an hour and a half away from where I live, there's a group chat of people who go to welcome him. So there's this organized conservative and MAGA grassroots group that holds up welcome signs to counter the protesters who do wish things like what were tweeted over the weekend, but can confirm about 100 of my closest friends saw him at the golf course on Saturday, and then, of course, he returned to the White House to continue making D.C. crime-free and all the other great things that he's doing.
So, speaking of which, do you have any, you're a very important guy. You're in the know out there in Washington, D.C. You're from Tennessee. But what is Donald Trump's big announcement today at 2 Eastern, 1 Central?
Look, I have not ever been on the correct end of guessing what President Trump is going to do next. And as is common on this show, Dan, I refuse to take a position and make a guess. I do think, though, from the headlines I saw over the weekend, it looks like there is some movement in the Russia-Ukraine matter, which may show that Russia is ceding some of the situation there. I'm not sure. There were a couple of shootings over the weekend in D.C. I don't think any murders. So crime is still ridiculously down in the city. It might be an announcement about that. There are a lot of really great things happening domestically and as it pertains to foreign policy. So there'll be any number of things.
So you talked about Washington, D.C., and how well things are going in D.C. I know that you saw, and I covered this earlier in the program, but, let's go Brandon Johnson, right, from Chicago, the Chicago mayor. You've got J.B. Pritzker and Brandon Johnson, both that are simply refusing And really, it seems to be threatening Donald Trump that if you try to bring the National Guard into Illinois, it is not going to go well for you. How do you think that's going to end?
Yeah, we talked about this last week, Dan. The situation is you've got a Democrat governor, you've got a Democrat mayor, both of whom would cut off their nose despite their face. Crime is rampant in Chicago. We've seen in just about a month of National Guard activity in D.C., crime down dramatically. These individuals don't want to solve problems. Orange Man is bad to them, and they will oppose him at every turn, even if it is better for the city. And it's unfortunate. I think sometimes, or some of these things may wind up in the courts. There is precedent of presidents placing the National Guard into cities, places like Los Angeles and other Memphis and other places historically. And if it makes its way through the courts, I think the courts will affirm that in extreme situations like this, crime in Chicago, crime in Washington, D.C., that the president has authority on a limited basis to drop National Guard troops into a place. And I was in Eastern Market in Washington, D.C. over the weekend, and there were about a half dozen National Guard troops. Super polite guys. They were just outside the metro station, making sure that the neighborhood was calm. And as we've seen in video after video, residents of D.C. who are not ideologically opposed to Donald Trump, who just want to live, work, and make their way in the city, are generally pretty pleased with what's happened in D.C., and I think it would be the same for the folks who live in neighborhoods across Chicago.
There was Matthew Hurt joining us, our grassroots political analyst. There was some polling done, and it showed that the American people far and wide had major concerns about crime across America, including in some of these Democrat-run sanctuary cities. So how do you think this plays in the midterm elections? And if you're advising Donald Trump, what would you tell him to do?
You know, so this is a concern among voters, but most voters don't live in the crime areas. So this is something for your listeners. You know, not everybody who lives in the listening radius of the station is going to Nashville, and they're certainly not going to Memphis. It is a far-away crime. I do think it will be one of the top 3 or 4 issues if it continues like this into 2026. But many people are going to think about jobs and the economy and what President Trump has done in that regard. I do think, though, you know, for people preparing to send their children to colleges in cities far away, that is a concern that becomes much more relevant. So you have situations where if I'm going to send my kids to UT Knoxville, or I'm going to send them up to D.C. or somewhere else, I'm going to be very concerned about that. It is not as tangible to a voter a crime in a faraway city as jobs and the economy right there in front of them, but it will play an important role in the midterm elections.
So how are you, and I'm gonna tell you what I'm gonna ask you, then I'm gonna go to traffic, and then you can answer coming back. The economy seems like it just depends on who you ask as to whether or not the economy is doing well or not, right? Scott Bessent will say the economy is great, but then other economists that are anti-Trump will say the economy is tanking. So I'm going to get your opinion on the economy and where do you think it's going? And I realize that we are a long way away from the midterm elections, like a year and a half, I think, right? But I'm going to ask what your take is on the economy as it stands right now. That is coming up next. It is 6:45, time to check the roads on WTN. As far as weather goes, cloudy with a couple of showers and a heavy thunderstorm as well. Watch for flooding. A high of 79, feels like 80, a low of 61. Matthew Hurt joining us on the Newsmaker Hotline. And Matthew, we have a year and a half before the midterm elections. So I don't know if today's economy will impact, obviously, what happens in the midterm elections. We got a year and a half to go. But, you know, if the election were held today, do you think the economy is good, bad, or ugly?
We can talk about it from a macroeconomic standpoint. I could say Q2 2025 real GDP was up 3%. and June wage growth was 4.2%. Most people don't have a grasp of what that means to them unless it's reflected in their paycheck. I think what are the costs of milk, bread, and eggs? What's the cost of gas? That's where it hits somebody in the wallet. What are the interest rates when people go to buy a home? And I think all of that is in flux. It's pretty stable and trending down. Inflation is down. It's not a major concern like it was last year. But all of these numbers can turn in a month or two. Real unemployment, most Americans aren't feeling unemployment. However, where I live, where unemployment has ticked up a percentage or two in Arlington, it's mostly federal employees. So it is exactly what you said. It is, what does it feel like to the person on the ground? Can they make the mortgage? Is it painful at the pump? And are the cost of eggs at Sam's or Costco outrageous? And I think all those numbers can change in the next 14 months.
They can change for the better or worse, because you have all these economists that are saying that the real impact of these tariffs have not yet been felt. So you have some people saying, "Oh, you just wait, it's coming, it's coming." Well, they've been saying that for like 6 months.
Yeah, any economist is almost like they've got a crystal ball, and they're always going to predict the next crisis or the next boom or the next bust. What I say about crystal balls is those who use one to predict the future are often forced to eat ground glass. So I try not to make those kinds of predictions. Any of this can turn on a dime. Look, the average gallon of gas in Tennessee is $2.80. It's $3.05 in Virginia. I drove back from North Carolina yesterday, where I think I paid $2.83 a gallon outside Raleigh. And those are the prices that are going to matter most to the average American, to the average voter.
I saw on CNN, I think it was CNN, where they said the gas prices right now at this point in Labor Day weekend, actually, that gas prices are at the lowest level they've been in many years for Labor Day. So I think that the price of gas, obviously, as you know, this is something that directly impacts the price of everything else that's on the market, at the store. It's got to be transported one way or another. And if the price of gas is low, then that is positive for the economy and Donald Trump.
Absolutely. And I think we're 225 days into Trump's term. And again, we're at 3.3% growth in GDP. The unemployment rate is pretty stable. And the S&P 500 is up 6.8%. I checked my Robinhood. I don't play a lot in the stock market, but I checked it yesterday and was pleasantly surprised at the handful of stocks that I'm playing with. None of this is investment advice, Dan, as you know. But I think people are generally pretty complacent. And the problem is, though, on that front, is if people are generally happy with the economy, if they voted for Donald Trump in 2024 and everything seems to be going fine, they aren't quite as motivated to get out as the Vietnam War era protesters we see at No Kings rallies and all those kinds of things. So it does take a bit of an overcorrection among conservatives. If you're complacent, if you're happy with what President Trump is doing, it is even more important to get out in midterm elections and to organize. You've got this special election in Tennessee here. Yep. All of those things are much more important for conservatives to actually overcorrect and participate at a higher rate.
So Congress is back today, and I think they're back today, right?
Don't remind me.
Okay, the Congress is back today, House and the Senate, and they're talking about, say it with me, a government shutdown. So I'm to the point now where I'm so bored of this conversation every 3 months. But I mean, what do you expect to happen in the next few months as they work towards, a budget or government shutdown? What do you think is going to happen?
This is a problem with Congress not doing its job. For the better part of 12 or 13 years, Congress has not passed a budget. We go from continuing resolution to continuing resolution. Most Americans don't care about it at all. It doesn't impact almost anybody outside of the Beltway. That said, we've got a governor's race in Virginia, and in 2013, I can tell you the government shutdown that summer with Senator Ted Cruz did have a disproportionate impact in the election. Most Americans, if the government shut down for a week, the federal government, most people wouldn't recognize and wouldn't realize it. This is managing from crisis to crisis. Congress needs to get its act together, pass a budget, and actually do what the voters sent them there to do what they are constitutionally authorized and compelled to do. I don't know if we have the political courage in Washington to get it done.
No, I don't think we do either. All right, last question here. You may have heard me talking about this in the previous half hour, but Israel is being accused of basically genocide, and so this is not the first time, of course. And I think that the headlines and the media is really, running with this narrative. And I guess my question is, do you believe that the American people, by and large, buy the accusation that Israel is committing genocide in Gaza when, the reality is we had 12 to 1,400 Israelis slaughtered here October 7th of a couple of years ago? And I feel like they're still defending themselves and they're still trying to root out Hamas, who continuously uses civilians as human shields. So I don't know. Do you think that's that moniker of, utilizing, genocidal tendencies, do you think that's going to stick with the American people?
I don't know if it applies here, Dan, but it is a concern that I follow as a small L libertarian, particularly in the foreign policy space. Does Israel have a right to defend itself? Yes. Is Hamas a clear and present danger to the existence of a free state of Israel? Yes. What are some of the things? It seems to me over the last couple of years, Prime Minister Netanyahu we've gotten really close to some kind of agreement, and then something has happened where they pulled back. And I just don't know what the end game is there. I am concerned about it. I think that there are many innocent Palestinians under the age of 18 who are not wrapped up in the terrorism of Hamas. And it's a humanitarian question, and I don't have the answer for it. And I think that we should look at all international news coverage with some level of skepticism,
Mm-hmm.
and I just don't know, Dan, and I'm concerned.
All right, thank you, Matthew. As always, how can people find you on X?
I'm on X at Matthew Hurt, MattheWHurtt.
All right, we'll talk to you again soon. 6:53 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. Sam Weatherford has the news coming up at 7 in for Joan Jones. Sam, what you got?
Well, Dan, a West Point cadet who is also on the football team made the catch of his life, and it wasn't on the field. And the death toll climbs after a deadly earthquake in the Middle East. All that and more coming up at 7 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Dan Mandis here for my friends at Mark Spain Real Estate. Listen, you can avoid the stress of putting your home on the market, and you can actually sell your home fast for all cash with that guaranteed offer for Mark Spain Real Estate. Yeah, Dan Mandis here. I always recommend Mark Spain Real Estate in Nashville because I know that they are going to sell your home hassle-free with a strong all-cash offer. As a matter of fact, with Mark Spain Real Estate, the Wall Street Journal and Real Trends have consistently named Mark Spain Real Estate as the top real estate team in America for closed transactions 9 years in a row, including being ranked the number one real estate team in the nation for 5 consecutive years. They've got 72,000 satisfied clients. That's right, Mark Spain Real Estate. They've been helping homeowners sell their homes for nearly 30 years. And yes, they have served over 72,000 satisfied clients. You could be next. And so if you need to get out of your home fast, call my friends at Mark Spain Real Estate and find out what your guaranteed all-cash offer would be. There's no obligation. 855-299-SOLD. Find them online anytime. It is markspain.com to get a guaranteed offer on your home today. That's markspain.com and start packing. 6:59, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Sam, you were reporting on a story about a homeowner who was ding-dong ditched, and he ran out of his house and shot the kid in the back.
Yep.
What state was that in?
Texas.
Texas. All right. I don't think stand your ground law would apply there, though.
Not at all.
Yeah, because, the kid was shot in the back.
Yeah, and so pretty much in any state with a stand your ground law, it's going to be invalid the second you run after somebody.
Yes, and
Because
shoot
now
them in the back.
You are in pursuit. Yes, so it's interesting. No charges have been filed at this point. It'll be interesting to see what the district attorney in Houston does about that. But yeah.
All right, we're going to talk a little bit about that coming back because, the super text line kind of blew up at that story that you covered. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that straight ahead. It is 7 o'clock. Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk. The super text line is open at 615-737-9986. Got a lot more straight ahead on WTN.
Good morning. It's 7 a.m., and I'm Sam Rutherford with your top stories. The U.S. Military Academy at West Point is no stranger to heroic acts, and Saturday night, a cadet and Army football player hailing from North Carolina showed nothing less than heroic behavior a few miles off his Hudson Valley campus, rescuing a man from a burning car. Reporter DeJuan Hoggard from ABC affiliate WTVD in Raleigh, Larry's hometown, has his story.
Larry Pickett Jr. is now in his sophomore year at the U.S. Military Academy, West Point.
Everything happened so fast. It wasn't a lot of thinking, a lot of talking.
20-year-old Larry and his dad saving a man's life after a serious car crash in Highland Falls, New York.
We could just tell that he was in need of help.
His actions coming just a day after Army's upset loss to Tarleton State.
It really just comes back down to the will to serve.
Not all heroes wear capes. Some wear football jerseys and save lives.
In international news, more than 1,400 people have lost their lives and another 3,000 are wounded, according to Taliban government spokesperson Zabihullah Mujahid, as a 6.0 magnitude earthquake struck Afghanistan near the Kunar province late Sunday evening. The quake was only 5 miles deep, with shallower events causing more damage on the Earth's surface. The death toll is expected to continue to grow as more than 5,400 homes were destroyed in the quake and the aftershocks. Out in California, the Burning Man Festival that's held in Nevada's Black Rock Desert and typically focuses on art, music, and community and connection is now the scene of a homicide investigation after a body was discovered lying in a pool of blood this weekend. Reporter Susan Fan from ABC affiliate KGO got this reaction from an attendee.
Tien Crisanto is driving back to the Bay Area from her first trip to Burning Man. On Saturday night, a disturbing discovery. Law enforcement now investigating a homicide after a man was found dead. Crisanto had already left.
Very scary that someone could have been murdered.
With as many as 80,000 people at Burning Man, Crisanto says there's a huge police presence at the event. She's glad she left early.
And an hour before the opening bell here, the market numbers report brought to you by Beacon Capital Management online at beaconcm.com. The Dow futures are down 258 points, the NASDAQ down 228 points, and the S&P down 50 points. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Sam Rutherford, WTN News. All right. Looks like we still have those crashes that we mentioned earlier. Got a new one now in Madison over on Neely's Bend at Larkin Springs Road. The one still in Metro Center being worked at the I-65 northbound ramp on Rosa Parks. And a new crash reported out in Williamson County in Arrington on 840 westbound before Horton Parkway. With that crash on I-24 west of Murfreesboro still being worked with the right shoulder blocked. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.706, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you and welcome on to a Tuesday. Feels like a Monday. This ding-dong ditch story, I find really fascinating, Sam and Louie, for a couple of different reasons. Number one, Sam, I know that you are, I sense that when you were a kid, you had a bit of mischievousness in you.
You don't say.
So I would be willing to bet that you were a ding-dong ditcher.
Avid.
Okay. And Louie, you were telling me off the air that you were an extreme ding-dong ditcher.
Oh, yeah.
So talk a little bit about exactly what you did, because I was horrified by this.
Yeah, so when we played Ding Dong Ditch, we took it to the extreme. Like, we did more than ring your doorbell. Like, we'll bang on your door, kick the door, like, especially the people go out the in the neighborhood that we was in, they had the screen doors, like the metal screen doors. Mm-hmm. So you can really hear like the metal shaking as we were banging on the door. Like, you'll probably really think you're getting robbed.
Would you do it more than once to the same house?
Not in the same day, but yeah.
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 So a couple of and I was a ding dong ditcher. And, but I didn't do it, I mean, not to the extreme that you did, Louie, but I would do it on occasion. And so my mom, when I got caught, here's the thing. When the neighbors told my mom and my dad that I was out there ding-dong ditching with my dumb A friends, oh, did I get my butt whooped. I mean, it was just like the fury that came down from my parents, and they were divorced at the time, but boy, did I got a whooping. So I was interested. In my neighborhood, I got ding-dong ditched a couple of months ago. I think it was on a Saturday night, Friday or Saturday night. And I was really mad. And the reason why I was really mad is because, sleep to me does not come easily. It just doesn't because of my schedule. So I get ding-dong ditched and I come running down the stairs in my socks.
Just your socks?
Well, no, I was wearing my little jammies too. You always have to make it weird, don't you, Sam?
You said in my socks.
So, and I, of course, slip going down the stairs, right? So I took a bit of a tumble. I could not sleep the rest of the night. And it turns out that these kids, they were caught on a camera, on somebody's camera, and it was posted on our little Facebook group, Horseshoe Cove Facebook group. And there were parents, and I don't want to bash anybody, but there were people that were making excuses for these kids. Like, oh, they're only kids, and kids will be kids. And I get that. But if your kids are out at like 11:30, and they're ding-dong ditching, and there's ramifications or consequences for the people that are ding-dong ditched. And I don't want to scream, get off my lawn, because I know that's what I sound like. And certainly I would never advocate for what this dude did in Texas. But, I mean, ding dong ditching, you think it's harmless, and it really is, but stuff also happens when people are ding dong ditched. And if you've already got some problems in the neighborhood, my neighborhood doesn't, but I mean, they can have fatal consequences. And so I was sort of, I don't know, I didn't really know how to react to people on the Facebook page from my neighborhood defending these kids as they're out at 11:30 at night, ding dong ditching people. Like, is it the epitome of I'm old and get off my lawn that I start complaining about kids playing ding dong ditch at 11:30 at night?
No, and what I was going to say about it is we used to throw little like gravel pebbles at people's door. Realizing now as an adult that was a terrible idea. I could have broken a window or something, done some actual damage.
Oh, you throw it at the windows, yeah.
Yeah, or like the window in the door pane or something like that. But I recently, a few weeks ago, had somebody, I live next to a church out in Robertson County, and someone pulled through in their modified, we'll call it an S-box of a car because it was crappy. And they were revving their engine at 1 o'clock in the morning outside my house.
Yep.
With no muffler on, and I lost it. I absolutely went outside screaming, cursing up a storm. When I shared the video from my camera to the Facebook group, I was met with similar, well, it's just having fun. It was a Tuesday night, man. I have to get up for work the next day. What are you talking about?
Right. I mean, granted, my situation, I think it was on, as I said, like a Friday or Saturday night. It wasn't a school night, but I mean, still. And if you're, I don't know, man. Again, I hate to get off my lawn, but if your kids are out at like 11:30 at night and they're ding-dong ditching, I don't care what neighborhood you live in. If your kids are like 11, 12, 13 years old, get their butts back inside and tell them to watch a movie or play a game or whatever, but don't disturb other people.
I would remind the parents of anyone defending that the state issues a curfew for teenage drivers, so your children better have a curfew as well.
Well, and here's the other thing is when Sam, you and I were kids, and Louie, when you were a kid, they didn't have, well, maybe when you were a kid, Sam, but they didn't have Ring cameras. They didn't have cameras everywhere.
No.
Now it's like cameras are everywhere. So if Riker ever came and said, hey, I'm going to, spend the night at this kid's house, or we're going to go out and ding dong ditch, our neighbors and stuff, man, I would be like, absolutely not. Number one, because you're going to get caught. You're going to get caught because everybody has a Ring camera these days. And people don't think it's funny. And when my parents caught me doing it, that came down on me, I still remember to this day. And I think part of me was so surprised that people were excusing the ding dong ditching late at night. That's number one. And number two, that these kids were caught on Ring camera. And you knew I didn't know who these kids were, but I'm assuming somebody did. And you don't realize, it's just a prank, but you don't realize what you do to people when you do ding dong ditch. Because if you're like an older person, if you're like 65, 70, 72 years old, and you're a person of a certain age, that kind of stuff really bothers you. So, and I do understand it's a harmless prank. I get it. I know I sound like get off my lawn, but there's so many other things to do. Why ding dong ditch? And it had terrible consequences in Texas.
You ever done it in a hotel?
Oh, man, yes.
In a hotel?
Yes. Yeah. Like if they took you on a field trip or something, in like middle school or high school, and then like specifically on a school trip, you can get away from, like your parents aren't making you stay in the room. Oh, yes, ding dong ditch in hotels.
How your friend hold the elevator open?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
1096 wants to know, Sam, did you pull a gun out and shoot at the driver or the occupants of that car?
No, but I will say I worked up my pit bull pretty aggressively, and I was ready to let him go. I didn't against better judgment, but they stopped. They were listening to terrible music. I could have fired a couple of shots into the ground, and then the cops would have been called. It would have been a whole thing. But
yeah,
I just went out screaming like an old man. That's, I felt gray hairs coming into place as I was letting words fly out of my mouth.
See, that's what I hate. That's what I hate, because I'm already self-conscious because I feel like I'm old. And then when I'm like, complaining about ding-dong ditchers, I just feel like, the get off my lawn guy. And people on the Super Text line are like, what comes around goes around. You went ding-dong ditching when you were a kid.
That's true.
And now you were ding-dong ditched as an adult. And I guess that is sort of like maybe a rite of passage or something. I just don't get the appeal. That's the other thing, though. Like,
It was a rite of passage, as you pointed out, before the Ring doorbell security systems, because now you get a screen grab and share it with your, local Facebook page. And if you are a parent worth their salt about it, you will reprimand your child because that's an extension of you.
Yep.
And that child is acting in your name.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I got spanked when I ding-dong ditched. I never ding-dong ditched again.
My mother broke a hairbrush over my rear end.
No.
Yeah.
Did she really?
Yes.
For ding-dong ditching?
For the pebble throw. So we would hide under the car in the driveway and toss pebbles at the door.
Yeah.
So it was more gentle on the ditching, but people were very confused as to why they heard noises. So we probably messed with people pretty good mentally.
How about you, Louie?
I can't relate.
Your mom ever break a hairbrush over your behind?
I can't relate. I've never gotten caught. Never.
Well, we're going to send a tape of this to your parents.
Statute of limitations has run out, Dan.
7:15. Time to check the roads on WTN.
Murfreesboro, 24 westbound past Joby Jackson Parkway. There's an accident on.
As far as your weather goes, cloudy today, a couple of showers, a heavy thunderstorm as well, possible flooding, high of 79, feeling like 80 degrees. Today, a low of 61. And Sam, people want both my address and your address so that they can torment us, it would appear.
My address is 10 Music City Circle East.
Sure, come on out here. Just knock on our doors left and right. We are famous here at the radio station for not answering our doors. Got all the homeless people that are sleeping out in front of the sidewalk in front of the station. So yeah, no, we don't answer our doors.
Yeah,
anyway,
I had to race down there for my DoorDash order so it didn't get eaten yesterday.
Oh yeah, well that is exactly what happens. All right, moving right along. Okay, yeah. So I'm looking at all the people. When you talk about something like this, people will come out and talk about what they did when they were kids. I did. I toilet TP'd, right? I toilet papered as well. I did do that. You ever egg somebody? Sam, you ever do that? You ever egg somebody?
Not a house, but a person.
You egged an individual?
Yes, and they deserved it.
What did they do to deserve it? You led me down this road. Now you got to answer truthfully. Who was it, and what did they do?
It was a guy that I went to high school with that was very forward with a young lady about certain physical adventures that teenagers typically go on consensually together.
Yes.
And so we caught him walking on a sidewalk one day in my buddy's car, and I leaned out and assisted in the tossing of a dozen eggs at his person.
You just happen to have eggs in the car?
Actually,
or did you go, or was this premeditated?
We saw him walking. I won't say where or when. We saw him walking on the sidewalk, drove down to a Dollar General, grabbed a dozen eggs, and then drove back the other direction and let them fly.
The great thing is Sam grew up here, so he's got to be careful as to what exactly it is that he exposes because
they know me.
They know you. I grew up in L.A., so, nobody from L.A. listens to me here, which is fine. And I do find that funny, though, that you have to change the names to make sure that, you don't get, busted. But, yeah, I don't know. I hope none of my neighbors are mad at me now because I was kind of horrified by they're just kids having fun as I fall down the stairs. You know what I mean?
You know what you do is you set a trap next time.
Mm-hmm.
Like Halloween's coming up. I don't know if you decorate, but one of those motion-activated scarecrows or something.
Yeah.
You F-O on Ding Dong Ditching at the Mandis household.
F-A-F-O. Everybody knows us as the inflatables house. We have all kinds of inflatables. We bought a new inflatable, as a matter of fact.
Your house looks like a used car lot?
It does, actually. Our house does indeed look like a used car lot. We have all kinds of inflatables, and we like it. And Amy loves it, and I love it, and we just have all kinds of fun. And you know what? If that Ding Dong Ditch kid, I know what he looks like. Because I got that on my computer. I saved it. So if that Ding Dong Ditch kid comes to the house and wants some candy from me, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to throw it at him.
Or you give him fruit. Give him something healthy.
No, fruit is too good. I'll give him like broccoli.
Ooh, you know what? We get some pretty good spaghetti squash around here. He have no idea what to do with that.
Yeah, you know what? I could throw some of Joan's tomatoes at him because she's going to be back on Wednesday. Anyway, got to go. 7:20 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. By the way, as far as the super text line, of course, as you can imagine, is blowing up. And by the way, we are not making light of this kid who was shot to death in Texas. That is crazy. And I don't know if there maybe was some other bad blood between this homeowner and these kids, but the kid was 11. You say 11?
Yep, 11.
11 years old. So that homeowner is wrong. I mean, if this kid was running away and he was shot in the back, this homeowner is wrong, because the second your doorbell rings at, late at night, you know what it is. Anybody knows what it is. It's ding-dong ditching. And it's, it is, again, I'm not excusing it, but everybody knows what it is. So this person was absolutely wrong. All right, 7:21, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Super text line is open, 615-737-9986. And we do have the news coming up at 7:30 with Sam. Sam, what's coming up?
Well, Dan, a Tennessee college quarterback won this past Saturday while his brothers lost. And a former New York mayor is set to receive the Presidential Medal of Freedom. All that and more coming up at 7:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Dan Mandis here, and I got to tell you, the Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project, it is a great organization, an incredible charity. Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project, they help and support our veterans as they transition back to civilian life after a time at war. Now, you know the story. I've been working with these folks for years. Charlie Daniels himself started this organization years ago. It does continue to do amazing work, and the need for veterans support continues to grow. They are trying to help them as best they can. Now, I want you to mark down this date. Thursday, September 11th, Matt Murphy and I will both be attending their annual Patriot Awards dinner, full of incredible camaraderie and appreciation for everything that our military heroes have done for our country and what we can do to give back. Now, tickets are available for this incredible annual event at the City Winery. Trace Adkins, by the way, one of my faves, is going to be performing there as well. The Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project, they can always use your help. So I'd like you to donate today by going to their website, journeyhomeproject.org. That is journeyhomeproject.org. And give today. And yes, tickets are still available. The Charlie Daniels Journey Home Project, they do help veterans as they return home from war, as they transition back to civilian life. Don't forget, their annual Patriot Awards dinner is at the City Winery, September 11th. Get tickets and more information at journeyhomeproject.org. That is journeyhomeproject.org. 728, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I've been well-danned multiple times on the Super Text line because a couple of people said, listen, if your doorbell is wrong or your door is knocked on at 11:30 at night, it could be somebody that wants to do you harm. All right, fair enough. People are actually right on that. So that's number one, Sam. Number two is people from California, because I said nobody listens to me from California. I'm apparently been disabused of that notion. People are listening in California. Thank you. And number three, Sam, when you ran to the Dollar General and grabbed those eggs to throw it at that person that you egged.
Allegedly.
You know what that was called? Pre-eggitated.
That's good.
Thank you to 8746 for that stupid joke. It is 7:30 on Nashville's Morning News on WTN.
Good morning. It's 7:30, and I'm Sam Rutherford with your top stories. Former New York Mayor and Trump attorney Rudy Giuliani will be honored with the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the nation's highest civilian honor, Newsmax reports. In a social media post, Trump called Giuliani the greatest mayor in the history of New York City and an equally great American patriot. After leading the city through the aftermath of 9/11, he launched a brief presidential campaign on the Republican ticket and became one of the most recognizable figures in the country. The Medal of Freedom is given to individuals who have made noteworthy contributions to the security, national interest, international peace, or other culturally significant public endeavors to the country. In local news, the Rutherford County Jail is facing growing safety concerns, Fox 17 reports, as the facility is currently overpopulated. The jail was designed to hold 500 people, and with added bunks, can now house 977. But as of August 25th, the population is 1,008. The state defines a full prison as 85% capacity, which would be 831 people in Rutherford County's case. The sheriff has stated the overcrowding has contributed to violence, with 11 deputies assaulted and 55 inmate fights reported. Sheriff Fitzhugh says one of the main issues is the county currently holding 229 state inmates, which strains staff and resources. In other local news, Vanderbilt may have won their home opener against Charleston Southern on Saturday, but it was Vanderbilt quarterback Diego Pavia's brothers who were hauled off in loser-like fashion by Metro Nashville police officers. Javier and Raul Pavia were both arrested, according to Fox 17, who later confirmed the arrest affidavits. Javier Ramiro Pavia was intoxicated and disruptive, throwing food at patrons and refusing to leave the stadium despite multiple warnings to stop, according to Vanderbilt University police. When officers tried to arrest Javier, for public intoxication, Roel stepped in and shoved an officer before taking off on foot. Roel was charged with public intoxication as well and assaulting an officer. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Sam Rutherford, WTN News.
Thank you, Sam. 7:32 on WTN. Dan Mendes here, talking about the Glock store. And I know I talk about the Glock store all the time. What else is new? Well, I'm going to tell you. C-cuts. That is what's new at the Glock store. Now, C-cuts, they are short for compensator cuts. Now, these are little slots cut into the barrel and the slide that redirect some of that bullet blast upwards into a V pattern. Now, what this does is this helps make you a more accurate shot because it helps you keep on target by reducing muzzle flip, and it lessens the recoil as well. Now, these cuts are identical to the ones that were offered in the high-end Gen 3 compensated Glocks, but haven't been available in the latest models that is until now. The Glock store will compensate your Glock in 10 days or less, and you'll end up with a flatter shooting gun with less recoil. It is incredible. And by the way, if you want to try one before you buy one, Glock store has you covered. Just buy a sample bullet pack for $6.99, and you can shoot your choice of a C-cut Glock 17, Glock 19, or a Glock 43X. The C-cuts make a huge difference in all the models, but that 43X with the C-cut is simply amazing. And don't forget to bring your Glock or just the barrel and slide. You are going to want to start those 10 days sooner than later. The Glock store, find them online, glockstore.com and shoot270.com. Minutes from the airport and worth the drive from anywhere, it's the Glock store. Super Talk, is it my turn? All right, I'm sorry. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It is Nashville's morning news. Did I miss the music and everything? I can. Oh, am I doing a commercial right now? I did not hear any of that. So thank you. Brentwood Jewelry. Dan Mandis here for Brentwood Jewelry. If you have a special occasion coming up, you need a special gift, Brentwood Jewelry is your place to go. Now, for the lady in your life, necklaces and bracelets and rings and earrings. And for the men, money clips and cufflinks. And they've also got watches for everyone and every budget. By the way, if you have a family heirloom, maybe an old watch that needs repair or a ring that needs to be reset, Brentwood Jewelry, they can do it for you. Now, they've got great merchandise, terrific prices for every budget. This is the official jewelry store of the Mandis House, a family-owned business that's been in Middle Tennessee for over 50 years. Brentwood Jewelry is the official jewelry store of my house, and they are here to help you. 7012 Church Street East, located in the heart of Brentwood, just off Franklin Road. Exceptional style, exceptional deals every day for over 50 years. Find them online anytime, BrentwoodJewelry.com.
Okay, got a fair amount of backup on the roadways this morning as you're making your way into town. Got a wreck reported just now in Antioch at Antioch Pike and Richards Road. An injury crash reported in Madison at Neely's Bend and Larkin Springs Road. And still in Murfreesboro, working that crash on I-24 westbound just past Joe B. Jackson Parkway with the right shoulder block. Stop and go traffic from Epsom Road at exit 89. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.738 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. One of my favorite sound bites of the day is this one. This happened on CNN. Now, we've all spoken about the gerrymandering that is going on in Texas, and they're going to do it in other states as well. But political commentator Brad Todd dropped a bombshell on CNN. And you know what they're talking about? They're talking about something that I've actually spoken about with you, friends, many times. That is the 2020 census and how the errors almost always were to the detriment of red states. You want to hear the audio? Because this is great. I love this for so many different reasons. Number one, it's because it needs some video, Louis. Is that this is something that even though conservatives will tell you up and down that this did happen in the 2020 census, Democrats aren't always as excited to talk about this.
One of the big things is it helps decide congressional maps.
Right.
Does this have everything to do with redistricting?
Well, it does. In fact, we know the 2020 census, the errors were almost always to the detriment of red states. Blue states like Rhode Island.
Do we know that?
We do know that. The Census Bureau's own audit of its work has proven that. Blue states like Rhode Island were overcounted. Rhode Island then didn't lose a seat. Red states like Alabama were undercounted. This is just a fact. It wasn't all red-blue, but it was disproportionately red-blue.
Yeah, I mean, the anchor on CNN, I mean, she did not want to believe it. But, you know, there were a lot of mistakes in the 2020 census. And that's one of the reasons why you do have states that are justifying redoing it. Here's what they show. I grokked it because I just saw this soundbite. Statistically significant errors in 14 states. The 2020 census found significant overcounts in 8 states. All right, 8 states. You know what those states were? Listen to this. Delaware, Democrat state. Hawaii, Democrat state. Massachusetts, Democrat state, Minnesota, New York, Ohio, Rhode Island, and Utah. By and large, I'm not sure about Utah. I think that's a Republican state, but I'm not sure. But you've got all of these different states that were Democrat states that were overcounted. Remember, that was significant overcounts in all those Democrat-run states. Now, the undercounts. Several states were undercounted. Arkansas, red. Florida, red. Illinois, blue. Mississippi, red. Tennessee, hello, red. And Texas, red. So this guy on CNN was absolutely right. And yes, they did their own investigation. And they realized that they made a mistake. And so it does make a lot of sense that, okay, let's go back and let's not wait for, the 10 years. Let's go ahead and do this, midway through that 10-year period so that we can get accurate counts, so that we can have credible and fair elections, that we can look at these elections and say, yeah, you know what? We believe that was an appropriate election. We believe that there was, no hijinks or shenanigans. Because, if you look at the overcounts and the undercounts, it does look underhanded. So they need to get that. They obviously need to get all of that cleaned up because those are big problems. But here's the thing. When you start looking at everything that's going to happen coming up in this midterm election, it's going to be fascinating to see how this whole thing plays out. By the way, where do I want to go? Because I'm rapidly running out of time. Minnesota shooting and RFK Jr. under attack. This is where I want to go. Real quickly, because I don't want to focus too much on her, Rosie O'Donnell. I played you this audio earlier where she has now come out and she is apologizing to MAGA. Big news today. I'm not entirely certain why, but let me just do this real quick again. I did it a couple of hours ago. Rosie O'Donnell making news this morning as she is apologizing to MAGA for blaming Republican, MAGA, Donald Trump supporters for the shooting in Minnesota. This is the audio. Need some video if I could. Louis, this is Rosie O'Donnell. Listen very closely.
Hi, everybody. It's Rosie O'Donnell, star of the Flintstones. Listen, I have a cold sore. I know. Happens. Get run down, Anyway.
All that Trump derangement syndrome that she has must be running her down. All of that hate that Rosie O'Donnell has for MAGA and conservatives and Republicans and Donald Trump. Rosie, that's why you're run down. If you weren't so hateful all the time, maybe, you wouldn't have that big thing on your lip.
I know a lot of you were very upset about the video I made before I went away for a few days. I didn't go online and haven't seen them till today. But you are right. I did not do my due diligence before I made that emotional statement. And I said things about the shooter that were incorrect. I assumed, like most shooters, they followed a standard MO and had standard, feelings of NRA-loving kind of gun people. Anyway, the truth is, I messed up. And when you mess up, you fess up. I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. This is my apology video, and I hope it's enough.
All right, so it's not enough. You can play the violins. You can cue the violins for Rosie O'Donnell as she is realizing that she did wrong. What's interesting, though, is the assumptions that she made. When she says, I assume this was some, conservative, MAGA supporter, Donald Trump supporter, NRA-loving, gun nut. And I'm here to tell you that and I'm not an NRA member. Maybe I should join. But NRA is full of folks that understand the responsibility of gun ownership. That's one thing I know about the gun owners that I know, the conservative gun owners that I know. they completely understand the responsibility of a gun. But I was curious, okay, so what exactly is it that Rosie O'Donnell said that she was apologizing for? Because she never really went into specifics about what she said. So this is what she said in the hours after the shooting.
And so about the Minnesota shooting, and it brought me right back to Columbine in 1999 when I just could not get it through my head that students in America were shooting each other in schools. And this was a church inside a Catholic school. And what do you know, it was a white guy, Republican, MAGA person.
White guy, Republican, MAGA person. I mean, she couldn't have been more wrong.
When has it ever been someone like that?
Never. Not that I know of. I'm glad you asked that question, Sam, because I can't think of a time when it's ever been someone like that. I mean, maybe I'm missing something. And, you know, if you folks want to well Dan me on the super text line, you can, 615-737-9986. But she is so horrifically wrong.
What do you know? White supremacist.
White supremacist. I mean, I don't know. The assumptions that she made are actually irresponsible, to be perfectly honest.
Nothing has happened since Columbine. Nothing. The Million Mom March, nothing.
No, so that is Rosie O'Donnell, and you know, that is the video that she was apologizing for. And I got to tell you, and I said this earlier, but you know, people like Rosie, at this point, they don't have any credibility left. They just don't. And so I put Rosie O'Donnell, and you know what? She's in Ireland, right? She's in Ireland. Can she just go live her life in Ireland and leave the rest of us alone? Like, you already left. So her escaping America should be us escaping her. You know what I mean? You live in Ireland now. You go talk about Ireland stuff. But I put her in the same, you know, aside from the comedic fodder that, you know, people like this give us as talk show hosts, but I put her in the same insanity bucket as like Keith Olbermann and the two Joys, Behar and Reed. But, you know, for most of us, I think it is a lesson learned with Rosie O'Donnell that you don't make these broad character assassinations. And again, I don't know how she could have been more wrong. And when you think about those assumptions, it was the exact opposite of what she said. So, yeah, it was a white guy, a trans, a guy pretending to be a girl. But to your point, Sam, and I have this in my notes, I'm not sure when the last time a, quote, Trump-supporting NRA member carried out a mass shooting at a school. Do you know what I bet you there's far more instances of? I bet you there's far more instances of a Trump-supporting NRA supporter taking down a possible mass shooter. I know I've seen those. I've seen those on the socials many times.
It's going to end with a good guy with a gun one way or the other, whether that's law enforcement or a citizen.
Yeah. I mean, or the guy takes himself out.
Well, it still ends with a gun.
Yeah, it does. The shooter, by the way, as we all now know, scribbled, "Kill Donald Trump" on his gun. And a lot of this information was almost immediately known. So Rosie O'Donnell posts this, and then she just bails for like 3 days, leaving it to fester online. So then, of course, you know, she has to come back and apologize. And so that is Rosie O'Donnell. And I don't know, it's like so many of these folks out there. They go after Donald Trump. They go after MAGA. They go after conservatives, and they lose their own credibility. By the way, you know what Donald Trump is going to talk about today at 2 Eastern, 1 o'clock Central? It has something to do with the Department of Defense. Now, I don't know what that is, but President Trump is going to make some sort of an announcement today at 2 o'clock Eastern time, 1 o'clock Central. And so I'm hearing now from, you know, my sources, people on Twitter, are saying that this is going to be something about the Department of Defense, and some people are saying maybe it's going to be some sort of a name change. The Department of Defense. Some people are saying they're going to make it into the Department of War, I guess. I don't know. So we'll have to see what the president has to say. I think he made up a reason to get in front of the cameras to prove the Democrats wrong. I think that's what the president is doing, and I welcome it. I'm here for it because, as if you've been listening this morning, you know that the Democrats, since Friday, literally since Friday, they've been running around talking about how Donald Trump is dead. If you didn't know about that, yes, this was a social media thing. A bunch of Democrats running around saying that Donald Trump is dead and that there is a body double that was out actually golfing with Donald Trump's granddaughter. This is why people like Rosie O'Donnell and people on the left, they no longer have credibility. It is 7:51, and Sam Rutherford has the news coming up at 8. Sam.
Well, Dan, a South American president is accusing Donald Trump of scheming a regime change. And China, Russia, and India are teaming up in an attempt to spite another world leader. All that and more coming up at 8 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Dan Mandis here, 7:52. Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. They are bringing the buzz with huge savings and sweet giveaways. Listen, friends, if you've got septic issues right now, is the time to get it fixed. You get 15% off any septic work with Busy Bee Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. Again, they're always looking for ways to save you money. Main drain lines or whole home repipes, indeed, 15% off. You can also upgrade your HVAC system and get entered to win the Healthy Hive giveaway. That is a $1,500 sponsorship to the local school of your choice. And you can breathe easier with $100 off indoor air quality products. The savings with Busy Bee, they just go on and on. Call them to get started. 615-775-7833. 615-775-7833. Find them online anytime. BusyBeeHVAC.com. Dan Mandis here for my friends at Contours. Listen, we've still got some summer left, and if you want to get one of those belly buster specials from Contours, make you feel more comfortable in your bathing suit. Most folks lose a couple of inches across the middle. Contours can help you, again, with one of those belly buster specials. Let me tell you about these things. You can take advantage of their red light technology. It not only is incredibly unique, but also incredibly effective. And right now, the first 10 callers going to get Belly Buster Special for just $99. That's right. 615-236-9960. You call that phone number right now, and you get one of those Belly Buster Specials for just $99. Listen, it's an investment in yourself. Again, taking advantage of Contour's red light technology. It is unique. It is effective as well. It's cutting edge is what it is. And so you want to call them right now, 615-236-9960. Make that $99 investment in yourself. Folks have been coming from all across Middle Tennessee to check them out. Go to their website and see how their red light technology and that belly buster therapy works. It's ContoursLLC.com. ContoursLLC.com. All you've got to lose is inches. $7:57, Nashville's morning news on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Dan Mandis here, and there. You know what's so funny is I still have to get to RFK and what he is looking to do to the CDC and NIH and so forth. But I want to remind you of something, because there was this headline in the New York Times over the weekend where former CDC directors are casting RFK Jr. as dangerous in a New York Times guest essay. The essay, listen to this, the essay was signed by 9 former directors and acting directors, comes amid a crisis surrounding President Donald Trump's firing last week of Director Susan Monterez. Now, Health and Human Services Secretary RFK, Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s leadership, they say, is unlike anything our country has ever experienced. 9 former directors and acting directors at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention wrote in that scathing guest essay. Do you know what this reminded me of? And this is why I'm not buying any of this crap. This reminds me, and Sam, I know you know what I'm talking about. This reminds me of those 51 national security, advisors and all those people that worked in national security when they came out in intelligence and they said that Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian disinformation. Do you remember that whole letter? And the American people were looking at this letter and it gave Joe Biden something to say. Turns out they were all lying. Each and every one of them were lying when they said, oh, yeah, that's Russian disinformation. It's got all the earmarks of Russian disinformation, and it turned out to be a complete lie, and it was used to tip the election in Joe Biden's favor. Y'all remember that? Well, these former CDC directors that are casting RFK Jr. as dangerous, I feel like it's the same thing. Because they can say that it's bipartisan, but is it really bipartisan? No. I don't believe that it is. So my own personal opinion, y'all can believe what you want, but I think that this New York Times guest essay from these, former directors and so forth, I think that this is something that is truly and obviously partisan in nature. We're going to talk about that and a whole lot more straight ahead. By the way, the super text line is open, 615-737-9986. And by the way, we're also going to go into why exactly is it that RFK is so controversial. We're going to go through that and a whole lot more straight ahead. It's Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. It is 8 o'clock on the dot, and I'm Sam Rutherford with your top stories. Nicolas Maduro said Venezuela faces its biggest threat in 100 years as Trump deploys naval forces. Fox News' Luis Cassiano reports. The Venezuelan president, whose third term was met with protests by Venezuelans, is accusing the United States of wanting a regime change after a U.S. naval buildup in the Caribbean. President Trump initiated the deployment as part of a widespread effort to mitigate drug cartel activity. The president's office has accused Maduro of engaging in drug trafficking himself and taking it as far as offering a $50 million reward for information leading to his arrest and conviction. Tennessee is set to study any possible drug links to mass shootings under a new law, Tori Gessner of WKRN reports. The law, which was passed in April, requires mass shooters to be tested for psychotropic and gender-altering drugs by medical examiners to see if there's a connection between the two. The University of Tennessee's Health Science Center will examine any possible interactions between those drugs or cross-sex hormones and their reaction to other substances in the body. The Trump administration is also freezing all new visas for people who hold a Palestinian Authority passport. A State Department spokesperson told Newsmax Monday that the administration is taking concrete steps in compliance with the law and our national security, and that every visa decision is a national security decision. An internal memo went out and instructed all U.S. embassies and consulates to reject visas to all otherwise eligible Palestinian Authority passport holders who are using that passport to apply for a visa. In other international news, China will mark the 80th anniversary of the end of World War II on the Pacific Front with a massive military parade on Wednesday. In the run-up to the event, China's President Xi has met with Russian President Putin and India's Prime Minister Modi. The three countries have a combined population of over 3 billion people. The three leaders have held hands and joked in public, apparently to demonstrate to the world that they are a formidable military and economic powerhouse that can compete with the West, and to demonstrate misgivings about President Trump's haphazard tariff politics. ABC's chief foreign correspondent Ian Pannell observing the Beijing summit.
India's Prime Minister Modi joining Xi and Putin Monday, jointly representing over 3 billion people and militaries over 4.5 million strong, standing shoulder to shoulder, laughing, smiling, sending a clear message and challenge to Trump over sanctions and tariffs. Modi's locked in this battle with the U.S. over tariffs, pledging partnership with China. President Xi, in the swipe at the U.S., calling for opposition to, quote, Cold War mentality and bullying.
The Market Numbers Report brought to you by Beacon Capital Management online at beaconcm.com. As the market is underway this morning, the Dow is down 393 points, the NASDAQ is down 326 points, and the S&P is down 70 points. That's the latest news. We've got your traffic and weather next. I'm Sam Rutherford, WTN News. Well, looking pretty good considering the crashes we had going on earlier this morning on our roads into town. There's a little bit of backup on the I-40 split from 24 as you're making your way into downtown. And we've got a crash out in Sylvan Park area with the right shoulder block on I-40 at the White Bridge Pike Bradley Parkway West exit at 204. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
All right, so we've got some breaking news. Are you kidding me? Listen to this. We all know Judge James Boasberg, right? This is the guy who is incredibly anti-Trump. There's been, and I'm going to have to look up and remind myself which cases came before Judge Boasberg, but this guy is clearly anti-Donald Trump. Do you know what he's done now? He has released Natalie Rose Jones, that New York woman who repeatedly has been threatening to kill President Donald Trump. He released her. I can't believe that. I saw this. Aaron sent it to me. And it's like, this is the woman that drove all the way from, I can't remember where it was. This just came down again. But she had posted online about, wanting to kill Donald Trump. And she was, if I'm not mistaken, she was driving to Washington, D.C. to do the deed. Aaron reminds me she threatened to disembowel Donald Trump. And Boasberg released her. I mean, if there's ever been any doubt that these judges are so incredibly anti-Donald Trump, I mean, did he think, does Judge Boasberg, does he believe that she's kidding when she said that she wanted to kill Donald Trump? It's unbelievable to me. But, it's interesting. It's like, okay, so I guess this is, right along the lines of soft on crime policies. There was a time in this country where you threatened to kill an American president and you were in jail for a long, long time.
And nobody celebrated your desire to do it either.
Oh, no. Nobody celebrated it. These days, you've got the left, and they are all about it. So I don't know why I'm surprised by this, but I am.
I've got some more breaking news for you.
What's that?
Back to the ding dong ditch story.
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
A 42-year-old man has been charged with murder.
He has been charged with murder.
He's been charged with murder. Leon Gonzalo Jr. was booked into jail Tuesday morning, Harris County court records show.
Murder.
Yep.
That's tough. Okay, so just to catch people up, and because we spoke about this in the 7, where kids are playing ding dong ditch, and an 11-year-old ding dong ditches is running away from the home. This dude, 42 years old, comes out of his house and shoots the kid in the back. Stand your ground law does not apply. This is in Texas. And so we're talking about what he could be charged with. And I mean, listen, I'm no lawyer, I'm no attorney, but I mean, if you shoot an 11-year-old in the back as he is running away from you, obviously, do you know how far away this kid was? Do we know that part of the story, Sam? We probably don't. But how far away was the kid from the house when he got shot in the back? Do we know?
They haven't released that information yet.
Yeah.
But a statement from a witness that a male was running from a house after ringing the doorbell just prior to suffering a gunshot wound. So he probably was merely, and so they've got a photo in this article from CNN of the street where the shooting took place, and it's one of those kind of just like you'd be in East Nashville, West Nashville, one of those kind of bunched together neighborhoods where the houses are right next to each other.
Right.
And so, I mean, he possibly could have made it down the street a ways, but the man firing may or may not have been on his property, which would have led to decision makings in the filing of charges. But yeah, they haven't released that just yet. I'm going to stay on it though.
Okay. Well, I mean, I don't know. You shoot an 11-year-old in the back who is, obviously you're shooting them in the back. They're running away from you. And if you're a grown A man, you can take that kid without a gun. Granted, you don't know what the kid, may be carrying, whatever. But if he's running away from you and you shoot him in the back, I don't know. Sam, do you think murder's the right charge here?
Absolutely. And so I was actually paying attention to Texas's murder laws based on the Carmelo Anthony case, the high school track meet stabbing.
Yep.
And so Texas doesn't have like murder 1, murder 2. You're charged with murder, and the elements of which could, determine what the sentence is if you're found guilty. And so I believe it's the appropriate response. Like we've talked about, it doesn't conform to the stand your ground laws in Texas.
Nope.
And running away in the back from something as harmful as a ding-dong ditch, which CNN is now saying that it's because of a TikTok trend.
Yeah, I was talking to Louie about this off the air. Louie, you've seen the TikTok trends regarding Ding Dong Ditch.
Tide Pods, all the other stuff.
A lot of them are failed Ding Dong Ditch.
Well, this was certainly failed.
And I was telling Dan, they got caught, but nobody got shot.
Yeah.
Why do people think this is funny? This is the problem with TikTok. Number one, it's not funny to ding dong ditch, and I'm going to get off my lawn again, but it's not funny to ding dong ditch somebody. It's just not. And these days, it can lead to something like this. It's like with all the things that kids have to do these days, you could play with somebody across the world in any game you want online. You've got 1,000 different channels. You've got any movie you want to watch and the history of movies at your fingertips, and you've got to go out and ding-dong ditch. I'm not victim blaming here with this 11-year-old, but I mean, I'm just saying that this TikTok trend and these darn TikTok trends drive me nuts.
I think it's all a ploy by the Chinese government to put our children in, disparaging situations. CNN even alludes to an 18-year-old senior in Virginia was shot and killed while filming a ding-dong ditch to post it to TikTok. In 2023, 16-year-olds were killed when a California man rammed his car into their vehicle in retaliation for ding-dong ditching.
Okay, those people have some anger issues.
Oh, yeah.
Like, come on. But see, that's the other part of this, is that there's so many mentally ill people around here. Not around here, but I mean in America, around the world. There's so many mentally ill people. They're on, different kinds of drugs. There's a lot of anger that's going on right now. And people also, there's a lot of crime going on as well. So you don't know how somebody's going to react. If Riker ever came to me and he said, I want to go and I want to ding dong ditch. And I used to talk about this all the time. This just drove my kids nuts when they were kids, when they were young. They're adults now. But this is what I would do, Sam. Louie, if you ever have kids, I don't know if you have kids or not, but feel free to take this advice. I would take my kids, I'd sit them down, I'd print out the story, and I'd tell them what happened with the story, what transpired, and I'd tell them what the lesson is that they can learn from said story.
Yeah.
And I would teach my kids that this is what happens when you stupidly ding-dong ditch, so find something else to do. And I feel really bad for that 11-year-old. I mean, obviously, nothing but, prayers for the family of that 11-year-old. It is an awful thing that has happened. And that, that guy shooting an 11-year-old, knowing there's just an 11-year-old running away. It's like, what is wrong with you? So anyway, we'll keep folks updated on that story. It is 8:15, time to check the roads on WTN.
Emergency crews on the scene.
All right, 8:15, Nashville's Morning News. Cloudy today, a couple of showers and a heavy thunderstorm. Watch for possible flooding as well. A high of 79, feeling like 80, and a low of 61. All right, so what is RFK doing, RFK Jr. doing, that is so incredibly offensive to people on the left? Well, here's what he's doing, and we talked about some of this on Friday. Is he wants to ensure that vaccine mandates never happen again. And the legal vehicle is now gone thanks to RFK. I love that. But the other thing that he is doing is he is presenting more of a vaccine skepticism when you are so used to, CDC directors and HHS secretaries where they are all about the vaccines. I mean, you can't have enough vaccines for some of these folks in Health and Human Services. Dr. Anthony Fauci, I could go on and on. Well, RFK Jr. is like, well, wait a minute. Like, why do we suddenly have, 50 of these, at least 50 of these vaccines for 17 different diseases from birth until the age of 18? We used to only have a handful. Now we have 50? And the reality is that HHS and the CDC and all of these various agencies and departments, they really have become this clearing ground to just shove as many vaccines onto the schedule as you possibly can. And RFK Jr. is like, wait a minute. And part of what we talked about on Friday is he said that any vaccines that come down the pike, they've got to go through all of the appropriate testing. And for this, people are freaking out. And so this New York Times guest essay by all of these 9 former directors and acting directors of the CDC and so forth say that RFK Jr.'s leadership is unlike anything our country has ever experienced. And you know what I say to that? Okay, fine. Because here's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at our kids. They are over-medicated. We could make an argument about over-vaccinated. They're out of shape. God knows what they're eating. They're obese and they're depressed. That is what is going on with our kids today. And they're going to TikTok and TikTok trends for comfort. And so something is wrong with, I'm just telling you, my opinion, something's wrong with the youth of today. Got all these, young kids that identifying as trans, and they don't really know what their mental or psychological problem is. So we put all of these trans folks as a society, we put all of these, kids that identify as trans on this pedestal, and we encourage this stuff. And we're not helping. We're not helping. They talk about how they say, we ran the CDC. Kennedy is endangering every American's health. Came days after President Donald Trump fired CDC Director Susan Monterez. Through her lawyers, Monterez has maintained that she refused to sign off on reckless and unscientific orders. By the way, she was fired. After she was fired, 3 others quit. But here's the thing. You have all of these, people within the science community that are accusing RFK Jr. of, reckless and unscientific orders. Well, Dr. Anthony Fauci, if we're supposed to follow the science, that dude, RFK Jr., he's just, Fauci was all about not following the science, even though he was saying that he was following the science. The reality is that in science, you are supposed to be able to defend your opinions in the world of science. And Fauci couldn't. And he basically shut down anyone who had a differing opinion. So if you want to start talking about unscientific orders, you could look at Dr. Anthony, I am science Fauci, and that dude, he behaved incredibly unscientific. by shutting down anybody who had an opposing opinion. And so I'm not real impressed that all of these former directors of the CDC have now come out and said that they've got a problem with RFK Jr. I don't care. Because I look back on the Hunter Biden laptop story and those 51 former and current national security officials from both sides of the aisle that said that that laptop was Russian disinformation, and it wasn't. Same deal here. You can't trust these people are telling the truth because we know that all these people from the swamp lied about the laptop from hell. So for Kennedy, he knew that he was going to, go into the swamp, and he is going into, the lair where you've got all of these people that are working in these agencies, CDC, NIH, and so on and so forth. And, a couple of things that Kennedy has said over the years is that there is this revolving door between the pharmaceutical companies and the CDC and the NIH and how you've got people that, they are beholden to the pharmaceutical companies. And so he says that there is a conflict of interest. That is a problem. If you are too pro-vaccine and you are just lockstep with the vaccine companies, then you should not be on the committee that is to approve these vaccines, because you know that once you leave your government work, you want a high-paying gig with Pfizer or Moderna. And so I don't think there's anything wrong with having, as they say, vaccine skeptics within the CDC and the NIH and so forth. I don't think that there's anything wrong with that. Because I think those people are going to err on the side of caution. They say that he remains a vaccine skeptic and that he is always spreading anti-vax rhetoric. I don't believe that RFK Jr. is an anti-vaxxer. I think that he is a skeptic, and that's not a bad thing. And he has said in the past that these folks are in bed with Big Pharma and they are pro-vax. I would rather have vaccine skeptics in there than people that are, too far along the other side as pro-vax. And the truth is, the number of vaccines, it has skyrocketed over the past few decades. And now we've got all of these problems. Obesity is at an all-time high with kids. Shootings, they continue to rise. These kids claiming that they identify as trans. Depression among kids is at an all-time high as well. So something is going on, and RFK Jr. is looking at some of these, vaccines, and he's looking at, some of the drugs that, kids are taking. He's looking at the foods that, kids are eating, and we as Americans are eating as well. What is in the foods? I could go on and on with all of this and, make America healthy again. That movement is, to me, a very positive movement indeed. So I get that nobody likes, if you don't like Donald Trump, you don't like RFK Jr. And that's, in my opinion, what is going on here. But to me, I think that most of the things that RFK Jr. is talking about and doing make a lot of sense. 824, Nashville's Morning News. But I really, and the whole point of my segment is that I could give a rat's arse what these former directors of the CDC have to say. I could give a crap. You know why? Because they are in bed with Big Pharma, and they, to me, have no credibility and a conflict of interest, just like all those people that said that Hunter's laptop was Russian disinformation. All right, off my soapbox. Sam, what's coming up?
Well, Dan, Nashville's first permanent homeless housing center was operating without oversight, and Congress is back in session, but citizens will be making their voices heard about it. All that and more coming up at 8:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Dan Mandis here. Super text line is open, 615-737-9986, USS, United Structural Systems. Now, we're supposed to get rain today, and some of us could be getting a lot of rain. They're talking about thunderstorms and maybe some spotty flooding here and there, well, you got to go down into your basement or your crawl space and see if there's any water or moisture down there. If you do see it, well, then you've got to call my friends at United Structural Systems. They are experts in waterproofing, concrete leveling, and foundation repair. Now, this is a great company. They have helped me several times with my home, and this is why I proudly endorse United Structural Systems. By the way, I'm one of 30,000 satisfied customers. Listen to this recent review on Google. Guy says at USS, they were highly professional. The crew was phenomenal from start to finish, and they treated his home as if they were working on their own home. And yes, he does give USS 5 stars all the way, as do I. Now, USS, they're not going to charge you for any unnecessary repairs, and you won't pay a dime until the work is done and you are a satisfied customer. And they can help you with basement and crawl space waterproofing, basement wall stabilization, and foundation repair. We guarantee our best. Call them. Tell them Dan told you to reach out at 615-488-7855, 615-488-7855, USSTN.com.
Good morning. It's 8:30, and I'm Sam Rutherford with your top stories. The Trump administration continues to defend its use of tariffs as threats of a block by the Supreme Court are possible. White House trade advisor Peter Navarro called President Trump's global tariffs a form of protection, adding he believes the tariffs imposed on neighboring Canada and Mexico have curbed the amount of fentanyl that comes into the country.
The president himself never said that these tariffs were permanent. If, in fact, people stop dying from communist, Chinese, Mexican, Canadian drug cartel fentanyl tomorrow, the tariffs would be lifted.
In local news, the Strobel House, Fox 17 reports, is Nashville's first permanent homeless housing facility, and the Metro Council just learned that they have been operating without a contract for almost a year. The facility currently houses 90 residents, and its agreement with the management company DePaul USA expired last September, according to the Metro Department finance officials. But Metro's Office of Homeless Service continued payments to the Strobel House through other funding sources, including vouchers, which bypassed the finance department and reduced oversight. The lack of a contract forced the council to make quick action, approving a $3.5 million grant to keep the facility open. And members of Congress are back in D.C. today and facing fresh protests. Here's ABC's Morgan Norwood.
Protesters taking to the streets on Labor Day from Auburn, Maine to Newport, Tennessee, St. Joseph, Michigan to Ventura, California, railing against President Trump and other billionaires who they claim are taking power away from the working class.
Hey, hey. Ho, ho. ICE agents have got to go.
In the nation's capital, protesters angry over Trump's takeover of law enforcement in D.C., announcing a week of demonstrations on Capitol Hill this week as lawmakers return from summer recess.
And the market numbers report brought to you by Beacon Capital Management online, beaconcm.com. The Dow is down 540 points. The NASDAQ is down 375 points. And the S&P is down 90 points. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather are next. I'm Sam Rutherford, WTN News.
Thank you, Sam. Dan Mandis here, 834, Nashville's Morning News. And I got to tell you, the Wellness Institute of Nashville, they are helping a lot of folks, and they've got a special going on right now. $12 for a comprehensive exam, x-rays if needed, a well-explained diagnosis, and that first treatment from the Wellness Institute of Nashville. They can help you. So listen, if you have chronic back and neck pain, sciatica, slipped or bulging spinal discs, herniated discs, spinal stenosis, numbness or weakness in the arms or legs, fingers or toes, they can help you at the Wellness Institute of Nashville. They helped me with their state-of-the-art non-surgical spinal decompression therapy. No surgery, no spinal injections, and no painkillers. So check them out today. Tell them Dan Mandis told you to reach out. That phone number is 615-246-5009, 615-246-5009. If you have chronic back or neck pain, this is the company that did help me, and they can help you as well. 615-246-5009, painisbad.com.
Okay. We've got a crash still at Sylvan Park on I-40 eastbound at the White Bridge, Briley Parkway West exit. Another crash reported right outside of Tennessee State University at Jefferson Street and 28th Avenue and Ed Temple Boulevard. And another crash reported in Nashboro Village and Murfreesboro Pike at Bell Road. None of those are injury crashes. No roadways are blocked at this time. Traffic every 10 minutes on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
8:38. Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Sam, you know what Chris and I are in here talking about?
What?
Rosie O'Donnell's herpes.
Here we go.
Well, you're the one that brought it up.
Well, I just said what I thought it looked like.
I don't know. I don't know if I've ever actually seen herpes. Is a cold sore, because people are saying it's herpes, a cold sore, but a cold sore isn't automatically herpes, is it?
I think so.
Is it? Okay, Sam.
Mm-hmm.
It's herpes, but it's not considered an STD because you can get a cold sore without it actually being sexually
transmitted.
Yeah.
Okay. So it breaks down into herpes simplex 1 and herpes simplex 2. So it's technically herpes, but
it's not. It doesn't have the stigma of an STD.
I mean, yeah. So at this point in this day and age, it gets passed down generationally, as opposed through sexual contact.
You're so judgmental, Chris.
I didn't judge.
She inherited it from her parents or whatever.
Well, in Rosie's case, she spent plenty of time in the public spotlight, and no one really caught her with one then. One in Ireland.
What do they do in Ireland?
I think this is part of the problem.
Giving her the herp simplex, whatever.
Oh, you got a touch of the herpes, me lass.
3581 says that cold sore can be considered herpes, but not an STD. So there you go. Did you hear though the what she said about the shooter in Minneapolis?
That he was a MAGA guy. Obviously,
MAGA guy. I mean, white. Yeah, okay, but that's the only thing she was right on.
She sounded a lot like Trey Gowdy in his instant reaction.
Like Trey Gowdy.
Yeah.
Oh man. Yeah, I don't know if I've ever seen someone so more wrong than Rosie. And here's the thing, is that she then left it lingering and festering like her herpes for like 4 days.
That's the thing that bugs me. Are we really supposed to believe that you haven't been on the internet at all?
Right.
At all.
Mm-hmm. Because have you ever posted and like not paid attention to what was going on with the replies?
No.
I mean, occasionally I do.
Do you?
Sometimes. Most of the time I like to. Some guy called me the G word yesterday.
What's the G word?
Somebody said I sounded gay.
Oh, I thought you were going to say God.
No.
I thought you said you were going to say that you were great.
No, he didn't say that. He said that on my, I did a little Xfinity video for the sponsors. And the guy said that I sounded, gay.
You know what
and
you
I didn't. I don't.
You know what you should have responded? Gay with great internet. Hashtag Xfinity. That's what you should have done.
No, you know what I did? I'm such a child.
Prideful about my internet connection.
It's Pride Month, and I'm proud about Xfinity.
So I of course, 'cause again, I'm a child and I'm petulant at times. So I looked at his Facebook picture.
You just
and he had like a
him.
really white beard. So I said something like, "Well, at least I don't have a half-grown Santa beard."
Oh, roasted.
Not one. Listen, it was not one of my.
Roasted. Dan bringing heat over Labor Day weekend.
It wasn't one of my better moments because I'm usually more restrained and constrained than that. But he did say that I sounded.
So what's going on with you this weekend? You're arguing with people in the comment section online. You're yelling at kids to get off the lawn.
Mm-hmm.
That's
my weekend. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. It was just a long weekend.
Did you magically shift into Clint Eastwood from Gran Torino?
Yeah.
Listen, I could only hope to be that bad A. That is one of my all-time favorite movies.
It's a baller movie.
Gran Torino, man, Clint Eastwood. It's hard to decide what is the best Clint Eastwood movie.
Dirty Harry.
Dirty Harry? I don't know, man. I'm thinking.
Gran Torino is really good.
I like Trouble with the Curve.
Okay.
It's a baseball movie.
All right.
Do you know who else is in that?
Who?
JT, Justin Timberlake, from NSYNC. So I'm an expert on all the boy bands now that I've gone to go see Backstreet Boys.
Boy band fan. It was weird. Dan was watching and goes, "Oh, Clint Eastwood's in this movie."
Yeah, that's exactly. Whatever.
I was watching it for the JT storyline.
Actually, no, he was actually, to be honest, the worst part of the movie. But that's okay. I'm not a well, I shouldn't say this because Amy will get mad at me if I say I'm not a JT hater because of what JT did to Britney Spears.
Oh.
You know that whole thing?
Yeah, it goes way back.
It does. It goes, well,
household.
you know what? He said a lot of nasty things about Britney Spears and caused her to go a little cuckoo.
The Mandis household holds grudges.
Well, you know what? Amy and I got into a very serious discussion because I said, this is what happens in my car. Driving along, and a JT song comes on, and it happens to be one of the ones that I like. And she said, no, we're not listening to that. And I said, why not? Because of what he did to Britney. And I said, well, how do you know that he was the guilty one there? Because she could be lying about what he did to her because, you know, nobody cares about this. Hey, what's going on? How was your weekend?
I'm on Team Justin.
Are you? See, I'm on Team Justin too because I think Britney Spears is wackadoo.
Have you seen the memes where it's like the America we promised and it was Britney Spears when she was still like all put together as a pop star? It was like the America we got and it's Britney Spears with knives out dancing.
Yes, I have seen that meme. Actually, very funny indeed. So anyway,
this is hour 10 of radio for you, right?
This is hour 9.
Hour 9.
Hour 9. I started at midnight and I'm at 8:45. I got 15 minutes left.
How do you do a show all night long?
I don't know. Not well?
No.
No. I think it's been a fine show. There's one segment, I'm not going to say which one, but there's one segment I wish that I could have back. I wish I could take back.
Okay.
But other than that, I think it's been fine. I'm going to go home. Here's the plan for today. I'm going to go home. I'm going to drink about a gallon of ZzzQuil, and I'm going to try to sleep for the next many hours.
Okay.
And then I'll wake up and do show prep. I'm going to kiss the wife on the head, and I'm going to go down to the basement.
Are you going to put up a warning sign for any would-be ding-dong ditchers in the area?
You know, I dare them to come to my house after the thunder I threw down today.
You fell down the stairs? Is that what happened?
Yeah, I did. I was wearing socks, and they dinged my doorbell. Ding-donged my doorbell. It's another segment I wish I could have back. And yeah, I slipped going down the stairs. I almost twisted my ankle. Not a big deal, you know. But
you walked it off.
Sure.
You running down the stairs?
No, I was. Was it
a bit of a gallivant?
It was a bit of a trot. It wasn't a run, but it wasn't.
So you were really
walking.
trying to catch them at your door.
You know what? I did want to catch them. I did want to catch them. I knew.
You knew it was those kids.
I knew it was those dang kids.
Do you know which kids they are in the neighborhood?
So what would you do if you were a parent? Let's go around the room, actually. So they apparently were doing this all across where I live in the neighborhood. And somebody caught their image on a ring cam, doorbell cam thing. And so they posted it to Facebook. And people started making excuses for them. If that's my kid, you know, I mean, there's going to be problems. And I would, you know, number one, what the heck are you doing out at 11:30 at night? That's number one. Number two, I get that it's a rite of passage. I totally understand. I think in this day and age, and we saw that in Texas, where it's just not very smart to do. There's a million other things you can do. And get off my lawn.
And get off
my lawn. I don't know, but so if your kids spent the night at another person's house and then you saw in your neighborhood that your kid was out ding-dong ditching at 11:30 at night, what would you do as a parent?
They would be in trouble.
They'd be in trouble?
They'd be in trouble.
What would you do?
They'd probably be no sleepovers for a while.
Okay, so I'm not the only get off my lawn guy here. That you just proved yourself to be also a get off my lawn guy. Yeah. We already ascertained that Sam is not only a get off my lawn guy, but I will sick my pit bull on you if you, you know,
I heard that on the way
come
in
on my property. And Louis, what about you? What would you do if you saw your kids were ding dong ditching, and how in trouble would they be in the Louis household?
They definitely wouldn't be going outside for a while.
All right, so we're 4 get off my lawn guys.
To be fair, I'd be much more upset about the running around the neighborhood at 11 o'clock, 11:30 than I would be the ding-dong ditching.
I disagree.
That would be the lead story.
The lead story for me is you don't bother other people with your silliness and your foolishness.
Yeah.
Hijinks and shenanigans.
But if you never went outside at 11:30, we wouldn't even get there.
Well, that's true, but they went outside. They went out. Don't take his side. So
would you allow them to do it?
I'm just kidding.
If it's not late at night.
But see, they went outside specifically to Ding Dong Ditch. It's not like they were just, roaming around and looking for something to do at 11:30. They specifically went out to Ding Dong Ditch. I would never make an excuse. I would never. You know what? My neighbors.
I've been the dinger. Okay.
Yeah.
I've been the dinger.
Okay.
I know what that's like. It's a lot of fun. I'll be perfectly honest with you. Some of the most fun I've had in my life as a kid was ding dong ditching.
Back when the world was more sane.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing.
Before there were ring cameras.
Yeah.
I got all these people telling me what cold sores are.
Oh no.
And it's not just the world's gotten crazier and that guy's reaction by coming out and shooting that kid. It's also, you got to be reminded of what 11-year-olds are capable of. In 2024 in New Mexico, Messiah Hayes was part of a group of adolescent kids that stole a car and ran over a bicyclist and killed him.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's definitely that aspect of it too.
The kids themselves have gotten more out of control.
Sounds like Dan can dish it out but cannot take it.
What can't you take?
Herpes.
Oh.
That's awfully fast there, Sam.
You don't want it.
No, I don't want herpes. Do you want herpes?
No.
Sam, you want herpes?
No, sir.
Okay. Louis?
No.
Louis like, why are you even bothering to ask me this question? And 67 also, 66 also says, well, Dan, you do sound gay. Now,
first of all, guys, that's not fair.
First of all, I don't know what that even means. I do have a high, whiny voice, and I do understand that. I'm working on it.
Well, he answered it.
I'm supposed to, speak for my diaphragm and all that stuff. That's what they taught me in broadcasting school before they kicked me out.
Okay.
So,
were you getting texts all weekend long too about AOC being in Murfreesboro?
No, was AOC in Murfreesboro?
I got maybe 2-3 dozen texts like, dude, AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is in Murfreesboro. It was actually just a donkey on the loose. Mateo.
There was a burro on the loose in the burrow.
A donkey named Mateo was strolling around Murfreesboro. People kept texting me saying it was AOC.
Did you ask it why the long face?
So I just wanted to clear that up. It was not AOC over the weekend in Murfreesboro.
Okay, it was a donkey.
Named Mateo.
Mateo?
Mateo.
Okay. So I want to get this straight. So in Rutherford County, we had that zebra that got loose.
Yep.
And now we got
Now we had a donkey. A donkey on the loose.
a donkey. All right.
It's wild in Rutherford.
What is going on out there, man?
Wouldn't change it for the world.
You got all them illegal aliens in Rutherford County. You got all those homeless people in Rutherford County.
Yep.
You got, all right. Well, very
Zebras
good.
and donkeys.
Zebras and donkeys and homeless people and panhandlers.
Luckily, no liberal politicians.
Okay, now here's the thing. Will the local muckety-mucks, political muckety-mucks in Rutherford County, will they allow you to feed the donkey, but not the homeless people?
I think that there's no rules on the books about the donkeys.
No rules on the books?
No rules on the books.
Okay, very good. What is coming up, Chris, at 9 o'clock?
Well, we'll talk about what happened in Chicago over the weekend as Mayor Brandon Johnson and Governor Pritzker are telling everybody we don't need the National Guard. There was a lot of violence, and it's wild that the mainstream media won't cover it, but we will here. We'll also talk about Donald Trump missing in action all weekend long. Is he dead? Dan, is Donald Trump dead?
Not that I've seen, but not for lack of trying to convince by the left.
Yeah,
they are so stupid.
It's so dumb.
And they're like Zaprutering the photos of him golfing, and they're looking at his posts on social media and saying, well, he doesn't usually sound this smart. Must be somebody else posting. I mean, this is what they were doing all weekend long.
And much to their chagrin, he's got an Oval Office announcement happening at 1 o'clock Central. So we'll know once and for all if he is alive or dead by this afternoon. All that and more.
Sally says, compared to Mark Levin, Dan is a baritone. Thank you. I'll take that. By the way, folks, everybody's asking where Joan is. Joan is going to be back on Wednesday. I don't know how many times I have to say this. Joan will be back on Wednesday. She was off. She said this a number of different times. She went off to get her daughter married off in Maryland. And so that's what she's...
This audience has dealt with a lot of loss.
Yeah, they sure have.
And they don't want to lose Joan, too.
Folks, Joan will be back on Wednesday. It's all good. Did we do the tease?
We did the tease.
All right. Wow, I didn't all this time. 8:54, and Sam has the news coming up at 9. Sam.
Yeah, Dan, the death toll rises in Afghanistan following a shallow earthquake this past Sunday night, and a West Point cadet and football player makes the play of his life, but it wasn't on the field. All of that and more coming up at 9 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
$8:54, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. Loan Pronto. Listen, are you trapped in a high-rate mortgage, watching your hard-earned money vanish every single month? Well, stop right now. At Loan Pronto, they are delivering the lowest mortgage rates in 3 years. Now, Loan Pronto's rate reduction home loan program is a streamlined, low-cost way to slash your house payments by hundreds of dollars every single month. Now, you can lock in a fixed rate as low as 4.99% APR and close in as little as 2 weeks. No appraisal is needed in most cases. And here's the kicker. You can skip your next 2 house payments entirely. Now, don't wait. Rates this low won't last. Call Loan Pronto right now for your free, no-obligation quote. Loan Pronto, of course, is amazing. That phone number, 615-499-5780, 615-499-5780. Visit loanpronto.com to lock in your new low rate and skip those next 2 house payments. Don't let high rates hold you back. Call them. Tell them Dan told you to reach out. 615-499-5780. Go to loanpronto.com right now. Loan Pronto, equal housing lender. NMLS 166-1781, subject to lender approval, and MLSconsumeraccess.org. Dan Mandis here for my friends at Zintex. I really meant that. Good for you. I'm happy for you. Okay. No, I really, moving right along. Your bathroom is one of the biggest selling points when it comes to getting your home sold, and Zintex can help you with a huge upgrade and a special price and offer just for my listeners. Now, you can upgrade your bathtub into a walk-in shower with grab bars and a bench seat from Zintex. Now, this can help the older folks in your life, and a bathtub redesign can make your bathroom look spectacular. Now, a little bit about Zintex. It is impressive. Last year, they were voted one of the best places to work in the construction industry. One of many reasons why I put my trust behind Zintex. Your work is going to be done in a day or less, and here's that great deal, that great offer. 8:59, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Well, that is a wrap for us. Sam, great job today. There's still, as I like to say, though, plenty of time to train wreck.
Plenty of shankable moments.
Plenty of shankable moments ahead with Sam Rutherford in the newsroom. By the way, a lot of folks enjoyed our podcast over the weekend.
Oh, yeah.
It is still relevant. So if you want to go check it out, you can. It is Mostly Peaceful with Dan and Chris. And I don't even remember what we talked about, but I got a lot of nice comments from it. So if you want to check it out, YouTube, Mostly Peaceful with Dan and Chris.
It's up there. It's worth a listen. Hit like and subscribe. Do all the things.
All right, it's 9 o'clock on WTN.